What's going on, fellow A-Plusers? Welcome to another brand new episode of A-Plus Hero Report, your weekly stop for your Marvel, DC television, and movie news, streaming live for you guys today, this Sunday morning, wherever you're certainly watching us from. We got a packed show for you guys, some live viewer questions, honorable mentions, and 6 incredible topics we're going to be diving into. James Cameron could possibly be returning to the Terminator franchise. We're going to dive into that. David Harbour is giving a couple of interviews that's going to give us some updates in regards to the final season of Stranger Things, along with the upcoming MCU film for Thunderbolts. We also got ourselves a Squid Games 2 teaser trailer that we're going to be diving into, and so much more, ladies and gentlemen. So sit back, relax, enjoy your weekend with us, and we'll see you on the other side. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another episode of A-Plus Hero Report, your weekly stop for your Marvel, DC television, and movie news as we wrap up your weekend the right way. We're going to get into 6 incredible topics from some of your favorite fandoms and franchises and keep you guys up to date on what's going on to go ahead and wrap up your weekend. But it's not just myself here. Oh, no. That's right. We got good old Stuart Branscombe in the house, my co-host. What's going on, buddy? Good to see you, man.
Hey, good to see you as well. How are you doing today?
I mentioned off air that I'm kind of in like the tail end of my sickness or allergies bothering me. Last week we did hear a report, and by the end of the show my voice was literally going hoarse. Like I lost my voice that Sunday night. I barely could talk Monday. As you can hear, it's like it's almost there. I feel like I'm like 85% of the way there of feeling like my normal self. So hopefully we'll be able to get through today's episode, man. But I'm doing pretty good overall.
That's good. Yeah, I'm not gonna lie though, you do kind of sound. Remember how like I lost my voice that one Sunday because of karaoke, and so I wasn't able to join for Hero Report. Yeah, so it kind of sounds. You're currently sounding like how I sounded that next Monday.
Yeah, it's brutal, man. I think it might be the weather changing usually tends to activate like my allergies, and it just hits me. I get like nasal congestion, nasal drip, and the next thing I know, my throat is sore, and it's just killing me. So I don't lose my voice all the time, but it is a rarity. But we've been putting out some content, man. So maybe I just been straining my voice a little bit too much lately. But hopefully I'll feel better here soon.
Just got to give it plenty of rest after the show. Whenever your wife or kid need anything, you just got to write it down.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm hoping I get to watch some football after today's show, so we'll see. That's one of the reasons why I would like to try and start the show at 11 o'clock on Sundays, now that football season is back around, but we'll see if we can get out of bed on time to do this show.
And then whenever your team scores, you just got to write it down on paper. Yay. Whenever the other team scores, you just got to write boo.
Yeah, this is my first day drinking coffee, which is probably a bad idea. I probably should do at least one more day of tea, but we'll see how it goes after this. But look, guys, wherever you're at, let me know in the live chat how you guys are doing this weekend. Any plans this weekend? We had my girlfriend's uncle and her cousin had a huge birthday yesterday. They rented out this venue. It was a nice little venue too. Had some live music and everything. So nice little time there yesterday, but definitely wore me out a little bit. So today's definitely those relaxing, sit back and relax type of days.
Yeah, I feel that.
How's work, Stuart? How you been doing, man? Any good movies for us to see this week?
So we had 2 new movies. One of them was The Substance. The other one was My Old Ass. And the Substance looks interesting. Not gonna lie. I accidentally walked in on that movie during the ending with very little context of like how it gets to that point. Although like I can kind of probably put the pieces together, but that ending definitely makes me want to see the whole movie now with the context of like everything, but yeah, it looks good. From what I hear though, a lot of and from what I've seen, even in the trailers, a lot of gross out scenes. Like, so it's definitely, you know, it's kind of funny. It's like one of the reviews I saw for this movie actually recommended you don't see it at the Alamo Draft House because it's not a movie that you want to eat while watching. And I can kind of
Okay.
see why, you know, because there's one scene in particular I remember seeing it in the trailer where it's a dude eating an orange and it's just a close up of his mouth for some reason. It reminded me of the scene where you have the king from Return of the King, like eating like all the
Oh,
cherry tomatoes, and it's like,
just
yeah, it's
popping
just,
and yeah.
yeah, it's just like gross. It's like I can see why people like recommend not watching this at the draft house. There's also, of course, a lot of body horror, which you know, I'm always a fan of. Don't judge. It's just because I'm a huge fan of like when you can like do body horror and just like, you know, it's a great way to get a good scare out of me. And so I love being scared. So I love body horror. And then I don't really know too much about what people are saying about My Old Ass. I just know it looks kind of funny. You know, Aubrey Plaza, I think that's how you
Oh,
say her
okay.
name.
Uh-huh.
She basically plays like an old version of the main character, and she's like talking to her younger self.
Oh.
It looks kind of cute.
I see that now. Yeah, I pulled up my my AMC app. I was like, My Old Ass. I never heard that movie before. Like, when I hit the coming soon, for some reason it comes up, but I guess that's out in theaters now already.
It is a fun name to say, especially like when we're working it, because you know we're always keeping track of how many people are like in the theater. So you know, just being able to say the statement, yeah, I got 32 people in My Old Ass, you know, there's just something fun about that.
I love it. I love it. Um, I'm trying to see what movies are currently out right now. Speak No Evil is currently out. Transformers
Ooh.
1 is currently out. Beetlejuice is currently out. I am fascinated to check out this Dave Bautista movie, Killer's Game, that's currently out also. So yeah, they got some decent films coming out. And I think the next movie I'm looking forward to that's coming out the soonest is Joker 2, which is October 4th. So that'll be here in a couple of weeks also. So it's relatively good movies for you guys to certainly check out.
I'm sure if you're down, I'd be definitely be down to review that movie with you live.
Which one?
Oh, Joker too.
Oh, Joker 2. Okay, yeah, I'm gonna see if the girlfriend wants to see it. If anything, maybe we'll try and get some tickets early. So we'll see.
Awesome.
Let's see who's joining us in our live chat today before we get into honorable mentions. Give some people some shout outs that are joining us live. And look, especially if you're watching us live wherever you're at, do us a big favor, man. Hit that like button wherever you're watching us from. Share these videos, retweet it, whatever the case may be. Let people know A Plus Hero Report is currently live. We'll definitely give you some shout outs here if you join us or throw your thoughts into the live chat today. Hey, Adam, Enrique Perez here says, just saw the official trailer for DreamWorks animated movie Dogman, based on a children's book. Oh, okay, very cool. I don't think I've ever heard of that children's book before. I saw the first look at the upcoming second season of Avatar: The Last Airbender. Yeah, we'll talk about that here in just a second. Enrique Perez, also Transformers 1 is out in theaters. Saw the final trailer last week. Yeah, they did drop a brand new final trailer this week, actually. And yeah, I will agree. It is out in theaters. It is something that I do want to see. A lot of people have been really praising Transformers 1, like not just first reactions, but people that have seen it. I've been seeing some people say it's better than the live action films that we've gotten so far, which is surprising based off of how the marketing push for Transformers 1 first presented this film to us trailer wise. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Finally, he says Nickelodeon is going to show a week of encore presentations of Knuckles series and both. Oh, okay, so it looks like it's coming up because he has been mentioning this to us, sort of like that Sonic marathon that we're going to get Sonic's 1 and Sonic 2 along with the Knuckles series premiering on Nickelodeon tomorrow night, it looks like. Since we've got a Sonic 3 in December. So appreciate the heads up on that, Enrique. We got Blossom in the house. Good to see you, Blossom. Ram Jam in here. What's up, Ram Jam? Marcelino, he says the Korean all-girl band 50/50 just released a new song called SOS. Also got to listen to their rap song Log In. They're both great. Okay, thanks for the heads up, man. Always looking for some new artists to check out. The Artistic Mechanics of Leon. What's up, Leon? Appreciate you coming through, man. He says, yes, fix it, James Cameron. Talking about Terminator there. But please don't take 10 years. Yeah, amen. Amen to that, Leon, for sure. Sam, what's up, Sam? Good to see you, man. Happy birthday to Batman yesterday. Yeah, Batman's supposed to be getting a star on the Walk of Fame, if I'm not mistaken, in Hollywood. Did
That's
you hear that?
right. Yeah. Personally, I think the first superhero star should have gone to Superman, but you know what? I'm cool with Batman being the first one.
Superman don't have one, I'm assuming.
No, I don't think so. I think Batman's going to officially be the first.
How do you present that? Like, I wonder if they've reached out to all the people that have played Batman before and are asking them to come pop up, make a speech, or at
Dude.
least just be there at least, you know?
Yeah, that would be cool to see all of them like standing side by side together. Like get Michael Keaton, Ben Affleck, Robert Pattinson, Val Kilmer, George Clooney,
Christian Bale up there.
Christian Bale. Yeah.
I
Oh
mean,
my
I'll even
gosh.
if they even have some voice actors, I'll take some voice actors and even get the I'm sure there's probably like somebody in Hollywood that just dresses up as Batman, you know,
Oh
like
yeah.
on a boardwalk or something somewhere. Just have him show up in a Batman outfit, you know, why not?
Of course.
So we'll see how that turns out. But yeah, guys, look, as we go through these honorable mentions and some of our topics, feel free to go ahead and comment in the live chat. You know, we always love conversation with you guys. At the end of the day, these are just simply our A plus opinions, but we always want to know yours. So as we go through some of the topics, let us know some of your thoughts. And yeah, let's go ahead and kick off this show, Stuart, with our first segment of the day. For those of you who are new to A Plus Hero Report, honorable mentions, our first segment here, topics that we felt you certainly still deserve to know about, but just didn't quite make our top 6 topics to discuss here today. I don't know if, Stuart, if you happen to have any honorable mentions or anything you want to go ahead and discuss today or not.
Uh, I guess this is kind of an honorable mention. Just to let everyone know, if October 13th through October 20th, if I suddenly go completely silent and no one hears from me for that week, it is simply because Dragon Ball Sparking Zero has come out, and I'm probably going to be addicted to that for like the next week straight after that game comes out.
Love it.
Basically, like, have you ever played any of the Dragon Ball Z Budokai Tenkaichi games?
It's been years, bro. It's been a while.
Because they haven't come out in a while, and this is
Yeah.
going to be the newest one in the franchise.
Nice.
And the character roster looks freaking huge. Because we're doing Dragon Ball Z, Super, and GT, all
Ooh,
characters from those in
ooh,
this huge roster.
nice.
I'm imagining the campaign will take you through the entire saga or the entire series. So October 13th through the 20th. That's where I'm going to be. I'm going to be probably like in my bedroom, just like curled up in a corner playing the game like for a week straight.
Do you still have our log on for Twitch and stuff?
Yes, I do.
Maybe you think you can maybe put some games up there when you
Ooh,
play
I
for a little bit?
think I will. Yeah, I think I'll do some like actually that would be fun to stream that.
Yeah, stream some Dragon Ball games. I think, especially if it's a brand new release, I would love that coming to the show. So yeah, guys, maybe we might be able to find you that week somewhere. A little couple Twitch episodes here and there. So we'll see. But appreciate the heads up on that one. When's Daima come out?
Oh, that's really soon. Let me double check.
I want to see if I can ask. I don't know what Indy's situation is looking like right now, but I want to see if I can maybe ask our other team member, John Powers, who used to do the anime assembled with him, if he might be able to do like weekly reviews for Daima on the page. Because I would love to have some Dragon Ball content on the channel for sure.
Oh my gosh, it comes out like the same week. So October
Ooh.
13th is Sparking Zero, but October 11th is Daima.
So it's going to be like a full-on Dragon Ball week.
Oh,
That's exciting. That's
I'll have
exciting.
one TV playing Dragon Ball Daima while I'm playing Sparking Zero on the next TV.
You might have at least one viewer for your Twitch stream. He says, Leon says, I'd love to watch that. So
Oh,
yeah,
hell
you might.
yes.
So yeah, we might have some Dragon Ball content for you guys.
I'll definitely try to
Um,
set that up.
let's see what else do we got here. Honorable mentions. Oh, this week, Stuart, we had Geeked Week 2024 on Netflix. You know, I feel like we get Geek Week several times throughout the year, unless I'm going crazy. I just feel like Geek Week comes around relatively quickly around here. But when it's Geek Week time, they don't slouch at all. I mean, we had a ton of um brand new behind the scenes stuff and trailers for a lot of upcoming series when it comes to Netflix. I mean, just scrolling down, just this is just one day's worth of announcements, Stuart. And if you want to check out some of these announcements, I highly recommend you go over to our Facebook page. We just posted these a couple days ago, but they gave us a brief announcement trailer for Avatar: The Last Airbender season 2. I think they were even teasing Toph, if I'm not mistaken. So we got ourselves a brief little teaser for that. In fact, let me see if I can. I'm not gonna play the trailers themselves, but I will go ahead and showcase the our Facebook page to you guys, so you can see for yourself just like all the content that dropped in just one day. So, yeah, okay, here we go. So this is the an announcement trailer for Avatar: The Last Airbender season 2, which is currently in production. They teased that. We also got ourselves a Arcane season 2 trailer that's set to go ahead and drop November 9th. I think it's being broken up into 3 parts, if I'm not mistaken. Act 1 premieres November 9th, Act 2 is November 16th, and Act 3 is November 23rd. So they gave us a new trailer for Arcane. We also have a behind the scenes for The Sandman season 2 coming to Netflix in 2025. There's a whole behind the scenes thing if you want to check that out on our Facebook page.
Definitely looking forward to that.
Yeah, we had a Squid Game season 2 a trailer. We're probably gonna watch that here in a little bit. We also had what I thought was one of the best trailers. Devil May Cry animated series has been announced. Johnny Yon Bosch is going to be voicing Dante, but they released a whole new animated trailer for the series that's set to go ahead and drop in April. If you want to check it out, really cool animation style.
I
We
was
also
gonna say that looks fluid as hell.
Yeah, really good, really good. Probably one of the best trailers from Tomb Raider: The Legends of Lara Croft that I've seen. They dropped a new trailer for the upcoming animated series that's setting up to drop in October. You can check out that trailer if you want to. Tom Clancy's Splinter Cell Death Watch. They got a little bit of a teaser for a new animated series too coming to Netflix next year. Um, a behind the scenes clip for Wednesday season 2 also that's coming next year. What else did they give us? Oh, another Stranger Things behind the scenes clip. I mean, sure, they went bananas a couple of days ago, man. We got ourselves a bunch of great content from Geek Week. So, yeah, man, if you want to check out all those trailers, go over to our Facebook page. There is a link in the description box below, or just at A Plus Opinions, as you guys can see down here, man. Did you catch any of those trailers this week at all, Stuart? Do you recall?
No, I honestly don't think I've seen a single one of them, but just so the ones that that looking at our Facebook page, just looking at it like at a glance, the ones that I'm probably the most excited for, Sandman and Devil May Cry, and specifically because of that animation looking really good. But Sandman because I absolutely love the first season of Sandman.
Yeah, it's a little bit of a bummer. The Dead Boy Detectives had one season and is getting canceled. Although, while they say it's part of the Sandman universe, it feels like that's just like an audible that they called, because I don't think it
Mhm.
was originally meant to be part of the Sandman universe. And so the fact that that got canceled, I'm hoping it doesn't affect the overall product and franchise of the Sandman kind of going forward on Netflix. But yeah, I am looking forward to season 2 also.
Yeah, I don't think it will. I haven't seen Dead Boy Detectives yet. But from what I understand, I don't even think it ties into Sandman at all. I think it's very standalone.
Yeah.
And I know that it was originally meant to be a spinoff of Doom Patrol, but much like how Doom Patrol was meant to be a spinoff from Titans, they ended up kind of backtracking and they just ended up recasting the two Dead Boy detectives and then just changing the whole premise altogether.
Oh wow. Yeah, I didn't know it went that in depth. Couple other quick announcements. Doom Prophecy. We got ourselves a brand new poster here today. Series drops in November. I think they dropped a trailer last. It might have been. I don't remember if it was this past week or the previous week or not. But it's definitely gonna be focusing on the sisterhood for sure. This is sort of like a prequel series to the Dune movies. But Dune Prophecy drops this November. They dropped this brand new poster here this week for you guys. We also got a One Piece announcement here this week too, Stuart. Casting announcement. Joe Manganiello is going to be playing the character Crocodile. Is he like the Lord of the Seas or something like that in the animated series? I'm not quite sure. But yeah, Joe Manganiello has in fact been cast for season 2 of One Piece.
That's Crossbones from Captain America, right?
No, that's you're thinking of Frank Grillo.
Oh, my bad.
Joe Manganiello played Deathstroke in the DCU briefly, like in the
Oh,
post-credit scene.
yeah.
Yeah,
He had like a post-credit scene. He looked really cool. I
Really
would have
cool.
loved to see like how he would have done in the role, and then that's all we get to see.
yeah. I hear Joe's a really big Dungeons and Dragons dude. Like he's really big in that world. I think he's I don't know if he's got his own YouTube channel or if he's like promoted stuff for Dungeons and Dragons, but I know he's a huge Dungeons and Dragons guy for sure.
I love this guy already.
Other news that we wind up getting, the Penguin is out. For those of you guys who haven't seen, I will be doing a review for the Penguin here within the next day or two. We just recently did a review for the newest episode of The Rings of Power. I did an episode review for Agatha episode 1. Me and the girlfriend will probably watch episode 2 here this weekend, so I'll probably drop an episode 2 review and a Penguin review for you guys. But even though the Penguin debuted with episode 1 this past Thursday, there is going to be a different release schedule for Penguin. Penguin will not be releasing every week on Thursdays, believe it or not. Episode 2 will not even be dropping this upcoming Tuesday. You will have to wait for next Sunday for episode 2 to drop. According to deadline.com, they do have a unique release schedule. HBO will air the episode 1 multiple times over the weekend following its release, including on Sunday, September 22nd. So episode 1 will in fact rerun again. The first 2 episodes of The Penguin will push the final 2 episodes of Industry. So it says the first episode will roll out per week on Sunday nights. So the second episode is set to drop September 29th, so Sunday. So not next Thursday, but next Sunday, the 29th, we'll be getting episode number 2. So we'll have to wait like a week and a half for it. I was kind of curious as to why they didn't want to drop episode 1 as of today, but I guess they have another show that is currently running around that time period, and so I guess they just didn't want to overlap. I'm not quite sure, but unique release schedule. So even though episode 1 is out, beginning Sunday, September 29th, that's when episode 2 will drop for the Penguin, and then every Sunday after that. I hope that wasn't too confusing for some people.
I mean, I just think that was a weird marketing strategy, but
yeah.
You know what? Bold move, Cotton. Let's see if it pays off.
Yeah, for sure. What else do we got? Matt Reeves came out this week, talked a little bit about Cape Crusader, Batman Cape Crusader season 2. Giving us a little bit of insight. He says when we came to Prime, the shows for the first season were already written and were deep into animation. So they were basically coming into a show where the first season was essentially already completed, and they knew that we'd be going into a second season. And that was part of why they said, yeah, we want to come here and do this. But it looks like he says, in the case of season 3, Reeves suggested that there could be an update soon, but it looks like season 2 is already in development. So we're not going to have to wait long. He says, I don't exactly know. I'm not sure. I don't want to give the wrong information because I'm not exactly sure what the trajectory is. I would think it would be sooner. I would think it would be 2025, not 2026. But I don't actually have an answer to that, is what Matt Reeves certainly said. So season 2 is deep into production as of right now. So we will be getting ourselves a season 2. And if anything, it will be dropping 2025, according to Matt Reeves as of right now, which is a breath of fresh air. I'm there's a part of me that in this streaming era, I'm starting to get tired of waiting 2 to 3 years for a next season to kind of drop. You know what I mean? So if they have a next season ready for 2025, I'm here for it, man.
Definitely.
Did you finish all of Batman Cape Crusader?
Yeah, I was literally about to ask you the same question. Yes, I did. Did you?
No, I still haven't finished it. And
Oh.
so Josh hit me up. Josh hit me up this past week. He was like, "Hey, I finished Batman Cape Crusader," because he wants to do a series review with me. So I gotta finish it. But you finished it too?
Hmm. Yeah,
Okay.
no, I thought it was absolutely incredible. Great animation, the art style very much just like Bruce Timm's Batman. And then of course the setting, I love that, just like the classic comics, they set it like, in like the 1940s, giving it a very classic aesthetic. I love it.
Yeah, I've been a really big fan of what I've seen so far, honestly. So if you guys have checked it out, let us know your thoughts in the comment section box below. And then last but not least, Stuart, um, John Cena's in the news because apparently we're gonna get ourselves a Matchbox movie. According to EmpireOnline.com, John Cena is set to lead a live action Matchbox movie from Mattel. So not only are we getting things like Barbie and Barney and Masters of the Universe, they're really diving into their IP bag here, and they're going to be giving us a Matchbox. You guys remember the classic sort of metal cars figures that they used to Matchbox used to do. I don't know if they even still do it or not. It was Matchbox and Hot Wheels, and John Cena has in fact now signed on to lead a live action Matchbox movie.
That's so funny. I don't know why, but for some reason I thought Mattel owned Hot Wheels, not Matchbox. But okay, because yeah, I don't know. I knew several kids that had Hot Wheels. I don't remember too many kids who had Matchboxes though.
Yeah, that was yeah. I mean, I don't remember if I definitely had some Hot Wheels cars growing up as a kid. Not to say I didn't have Matchbox, but I don't know if I had as many of them as Hot Wheels. But they had to have been competitors for sure, to certainly say the least, back in the day. I do wonder what this movie is even going to entail. Is this like kind of giving John Cena like his own Fast and the Furious movie without calling it Fast and the Furious? Like, I do wonder what's all going to go into this Matchbox movie for sure, though.
Yeah, I'm curious if they're gonna go for like a straight up like racing movie, or if they're gonna try to give it like somewhat of a Barbie kind of twist to it, like how Matchboxes are like toys within this world, but then those toys have a universe of their own.
Oh yeah, I do wonder how if they'll pull it off like that. Maybe they're talking cars.
uh,
I love how that landed for you. Uh,
I mean, just I don't know how they would pull that off. I'm just like thinking in my head, like that'd be kind of funny, but then the joke would get old really fast. I don't know.
yeah. It's interesting. This is just like a side note. When we were just talking about the idea of like how streaming services. Before we wrap up honorable mentions, I was just having this conversation with a girlfriend on a side note here. I just, the idea of streaming services, how we have to wait so long for, new seasons to drop. I was talking to the girlfriend yesterday because I think this week is like the 20th anniversary of Lost, the television series Lost. And we had started watching it, and I think we fell off like season 3 or season 4. I have seen it already, but I was trying to get my girlfriend to watch it. And one of her complaints was it's so long. It's such a long season. She's like, there's so many episodes. I was like, yeah, we used to get like 20 to 23 episode seasons back then, And I said, and what's crazy if you think about it, like we used to get that yearly. It wasn't like, hey, you got to wait 2 to 3 years. Like, no, you knew next fall was going to be the next season. And it's just crazy to me just how little content streaming truly does provide for us these days.
Yeah.
You know, I was like, sometimes I feel like now I'm getting robbed for paying all this money for the amount of content that we're actually getting. And I just wonder like where it changed in the sense of not only, hey, we can't have 20 plus episode seasons anymore, but now we can't produce these on a yearly basis. Like I just wonder where the delay and the discrepancy is kind of coming from in regards to just a changed mindset now.
Like there's an aspect of it that I like, because on the one hand, I do think that when you're doing like 22, like was pretty much the average, I want to say 22 was like the average. Um you're doing so many, like I can only imagine production wise how that must be like production hell, especially like on, the actors and directors who like are doing like 16-hour work days, and then probably doing it like 7 days a week and all that. So on the one hand, I do like that, less episodes a year means, a bigger break for all the actors and everything. That's great. But yeah, like I don't know why it is that it has to come out like every several years instead of like every year. That is like kind of the one thing that I find weird about the whole thing. The other thing too is that I think there's like when you have like modern sitcoms, I think that's when that's where it feels weird to do short seasons, because I think like sitcoms work really well when it's like a long running like kind of format, but when you're trying to cut it down to 10 episodes, and then you're also like filming it in a way where it's like not filmed like a traditional, like okay, I'm going to use that 90s show as an example, where it feels like they're spending more money to make it look like a sitcom rather than like actually like kind of setting up like, your traditional sitcom stage with like a full audience and everything. And it's like, if you're putting that much work into it, why not just like actually make like, a stage like with like an audience, and actually like film in front of a live audience and that kind of stuff, and make it like a traditional sitcom. So for some shows, I get the shorter format. I think it actually is very beneficial, especially for like serialized shows. But then there's other shows out there where I'm like, I feel like this could actually benefit from like more episodes. And I think like sitcoms are kind of like the prime example.
Yeah, like I wonder like if shows that are on national television, like a 911 or a Law and Order, like do they still have 20 episode seasons, or have they too kind of dwindled down their numbers in regards to like 10 or 12 or 13 episode seasons? I'm not quite sure, but it does bewilder me in the sense of why the turnaround, even if we were to say, okay, we're not going to give you 20 episode seasons anymore, maybe we'll make it 12 or 13 or 15 episodes, like why that turnaround still can't be on a yearly basis anymore. And I really want to know why we have to wait so long in between things, because I don't necessarily know if it's like scheduling issues between actors and stuff, but I am just kind of curious as to why the mindset has certainly changed like that. I can understand the reduction in episodes just because maybe people's attention span isn't what it certainly used to be, but I do feel like we're now getting robbed in the amount of content being produced on a yearly basis for what we pay. So I kind of want to go back. There's a part of me that wants to go back to that format, or there's got to be like a good middle in there, somewhere.
A middle ground somewhere in there.
Somewhere in there. But yeah, sorry, I went on that tangent for a little bit, but it was just a thought that crossed my mind when me and the girlfriend were watching, because I was just thinking to myself, like, I watching something like The Rings of Power, there is a rarely is there an episode of The Rings of Power where it's under an hour long, and even if you take the post credit time of like 3 4 minutes away from it, it's still like a good hour long show. And so even though it's only 8 episodes, I feel like I'm getting my content's worth, you know what I mean, just sitting down and watching it, compared to other shows that'll give us 30 40-minute shows, for like 6 or 8
Disney
episodes.
Plus.
Yeah, it just really boggles my mind that we're not trying to give more content and instead of creating less. So yeah, we'll see. It's just one of the gripes I have with streaming right now.
Mhm.
But anyway, despite my displeasure, Stuart, are you ready to get into today's topics, man?
Always.
Let's do it. We got 6 incredible topics we're going to be diving into for you guys today. Thank you once again for everybody certainly joining us wherever you're watching us from. Look, also before we begin, we don't have any sponsors here at the channel. We really continue to grow based off of your guys' continued support. So if you want to support the channel monetarily, we do have super chats for you guys available. If you want to submit a super chat over, we'll stop what we're doing, bring your comment up. We'll focus on you, give you all the praise in the world for certainly supporting the channel. If you can't help us out monetarily, that's certainly more than fine. If you want to help us out free, hit that subscribe button, subscribe to the channel, share these videos, make clips, whatever the case may be. Just let people know about A Plus Here Report. That's how we certainly grow around here. But Stuart, one of the greatest directors, writers in that of Hollywood, if you will, James Cameron himself is in the news here this week, talking a little bit about the Terminator franchise, baby. This franchise has certainly had its ups and downs, to certainly say the least. It feels like it hasn't necessarily gained its traction back after Terminator 2 Judgment Day, based off of several attempts that they've had. There may be a couple of movies here and there that some people kind of gravitate to, for myself personally, I am a big Terminator Salvation fan with Christian Bale. I know that film didn't necessarily work out for everybody. Maybe you were a fan of Dark Fate, the most recent one that certainly came out, executive produced by James Cameron, and I believe he also was really highly pushing that film as well. But it's been a while since Terminator has really grasped the attention of many people. We did just recently have a Netflix series that wind up dropping in an animation form, Terminator Zero. I'll probably let Stuart talk a little bit about that as well. But I think James Cameron even recognizes the idea that when it comes to his Terminator franchise, things may not necessarily be going the trajectory that he was certainly hoping for. And Stuart, what would you say if I told you James Cameron may be thinking about taking matters into his own hands? Let's go ahead and pull up this article, man. This actually comes to us from Empire Online, where James Cameron lets us know he has more than a plan for the future Terminator films, with one major difference. And I thought this was going to be fascinating to dive into. But before we do, I do want to get you an opportunity to talk a little bit about Terminator Zero. For those of us who haven't had the opportunity to check out the animated series, but maybe have felt a little bit burned by the Terminator franchise, like, should you invest time in this? Should you not invest time in this? What are your initial thoughts on Terminator Zero?
Absolutely loved it. If I had any nitpicks about it, it would be that there is one part of the show that does kind of drag a little bit, and it's really more because the mystery gets built because people don't ask like the questions you would normally ask in a specific situation, or they just don't give an answer right away, and for some reason so basically, specifically the main character Malcolm, there's this whole thing where he's trying to combat Skynet by creating his own AI, but for some reason he's not like telling the AI all he knows about Skynet or how he knows everything about Skynet right away. He's like waiting on it, and so like he doesn't really tell the AI that he's building until like the very end of the series. So that was the one aspect I thought was a little bit slow, and I thought like it dragged because they needed an excuse to like keep him in that place for 8 episodes. So I kind of get it, but I just think it could have been written a little bit better. Everything else though about the show, that nitpick aside, everything else about the show is incredible. The animation, the story is great. I really, really like the characters. I got worried when I saw we were going to be following a bunch of kids as like kind of the protagonists, but I actually started to really enjoy them by the end of the show. And then you also have a really awesome lead with, well, you have two leads. One of them clearly has like a little bit more going on than we initially know, and we don't really know too much about her, and it's implied that she may not know too much about herself. And then you also, of course, have the time traveling hero going back to save everyone, and there's some really great. It's so it's really hard to talk about what I love about the show because there's so many like twists and turns, and I really don't want to spoil anything. But I'll just say this, it's your typical Terminator gets sent back in time to kill Malcolm. We don't know why, and then someone goes back in time to save him along with his kids. And everything else, you got to watch the show to really see what it all builds up to. Absolutely fantastic. I think it is with the exception of obviously Terminator 2, it is my second favorite Terminator sequel.
Wow, that's some pretty high praise, man, for the animated series there. It's definitely on my radar to certainly check out. If anything, maybe I'll see if we can have like maybe a review for a series season one review. At least I'm one. I don't think this is a limited series. I'm hoping that they give us a second season. The way that it ended, are you expecting more?
Oh God, I hope they give us more because yeah, it
Okay.
does end on a cliffhanger. But all the big questions, all the important ones do get answered though. So it's
It
not
does.
like
Okay.
so it's not like anything's like so like everything gets like explained, all the questions you need explained, but like there's still a lot more story to tell. What's going to happen next? There's a lot that gets left open at the end, and it's great.
So it looks as though Terminator Zero might have injected some success into this franchise here and some excitement kind of going forward. And maybe James Cameron can offer that as well. This comes to us from Empire Magazine. James Cameron has more than a plan for the future Terminator films, with one major difference. Let's see what James Cameron says here. It says. But while the big screen sequels have struggled to live up to the heights of Terminator and T2, James Cameron is confident that there's a future for the franchise and knows what needs to be done to bring it roaring back to life. He says, "This is the moment when you jettison everything that is specific to the last 40 years of Terminator, but you live by those principles." He says that means moving forward from the iconic original cast and telling new and different stories in the world of the AI apocalypse. He says you get too inside it and then you lose a new audience because the new audience care much less about that stuff than you think they do. That's the danger, obviously, with Avatar as well. But I think we've proven we have something for new audiences. Without Arnie, and the article says, without Arnie, without Linda Hamilton, without the T-800 and the T-1000 and Sarah Connor, it might be hard to imagine what's left. But Cameron is clear on the elements that make Terminator tick. And before I continue this, Stuart, all those things that the article mentioned, without all those characters aren't even in Terminator Zero. Am I correct?
Yeah, except for the T-800, we do have a T-800 in it, but none of the characters from the original movies.
And so I do think that kind of, I don't want to say proves Cameron's point, but I think showcases Cameron's point in the sense of, yeah, you definitely need something new. Like we have to kind of walk away and jettison what we've known from Terminator over the past several years. So that means even without all those characters, there's got to be something still within that franchise. And it seems as though maybe something like Terminator Zero taps into that. Cameron goes on to say, he says, you've got powerless main characters essentially fighting for their lives, who get no support from the existing power structures and have to circumvent them, but somehow maintain a moral compass. And then you throw AI into the mix. Those principles are sound principles from storytelling today, right? So I have no doubt that subsequent Terminator films will not only be possible, but they'll kick ass. but this is the moment where you jettison all the specific iconography. So it sounds like he's ready to just like uproot this Terminator franchise and kind of reshape it in a way that maybe isn't necessarily is familiar to Terminator, but not the same sort of tropes and the same things that we've seen for countless years. He says, and it's not just the future of Terminator films are possible. It seems Cameron, while hard at work at Avatar and its sequels, is masterminding something new in the machine-ridden future. He says, it's more than the plan. That's what we're doing. That's all I'll say for right now. It's like the Terminator always said, I'll be back.
Of course.
That's what he says. So, I am fascinated by this. For me, I will say, first of all, let me just say this. James Cameron this week was interviewed by somebody, and the interviewer asked them the question that if somebody had asked them, like a fan had asked them about, like, what do you say to people that say, you know, while the movies are great, sometimes your dialogue and your script writing can be kind of cringeworthy, or like sometimes the dialogue is cringeworthy. And James Cameron said, "Oh, really? Okay, well, how about you show me your your box office hits, or like how about you show me your highest grossing films of all time, and I'll show you my 3 out of 4 or some shit like that." Like boasting the idea of like, man, like really, you guys are complaining about my cringeworthy dialogue and my scripts, and yet here I am sitting with like 3 of the highest grossing films of all time, sort of mentality. It is a little bit of a douchebag comment, but at the same time, it's just like, yeah, the guy knows what he's doing, regardless if people are big fans of his scripts. And so, like, for me, when it comes to James Cameron, I don't want to say this guy can do no wrong, but I almost feel like James Cameron just has sort of that Midas touch. Like if you put a pen in his hand, if you put a camera in his hand, whatever he creates and produces are going to get butts in seats. It's going to draw people out to the movie theaters to check out his movies regardless. From Titanic to the Avatars 1 and 2. I mean, these movies are making a ton of money that he's wound up creating. And so for me, I am hoping that he comes back to this franchise in some capacity or another. I mean, it's different to have James Cameron say, "Hey, I support this movie," and he's executive producing it. I think that's what he did with Dark Fate. And I think it probably helped boost Dark Fate a little bit. But if you were to tell me they were going to announce a Terminator film with James Cameron involved as the writer and potentially as a director, I bet you people would go see that movie regardless. It will make money regardless. And
I feel
so
like that's at this point, that's the only way a Terminator movie can make money.
it feels like that. So my question for James Cameron would be, with everything that this man has going on, I mean, as far as I know, he's got like 3 or 4 more Avatar sequels to still create for us. I do wonder, um, not only how, but when will this mastermind plan of his kind of take place? And I guess the question I would have also would be, what's his level of involvement in here? Is he going to be the one that creates this world and this concept? Like, is he going to be the James Gunn in this case of have an overall plan, bullet points, concepts, a trajectory of 2 or 3 films that he's outlined for everybody, and then he's going to bring in producers and writers and directors to kind of build off of what he's created, and help bring Terminator back? Or is he really going to get his hands dirty and actually create? That would be, if anything, one of the questions that I have for James Cameron going forward. But I don't think anybody would be opposed to James Cameron's involvement in this franchise. So if he wants to come back, I'm all for it. But I do think what he's saying is absolutely true. If you can stay true to what it is that Terminator is about, especially in the day and age where AI currently is very well discussed, and it is, there's I'm sorry, somebody's messing with my door, and I just keep hearing it in the background, distracting me. But it is one of those things where it's like there's such discourse about AI, positive and negative. It's a great opportunity to infuse that back into a Terminator franchise and create brand new stories. And I think Terminator Zero is a perfect example that you don't necessarily need to go back to the well. It doesn't have to necessarily involve the Connors all the time. You can have really great sort of unique takes and perspectives on the world of Terminator and still create great content. So I do think James Cameron understands what's going to make Terminator successful. The big question I would just simply have is how involved is he personally going to be? Because I do think that that will be what makes or breaks the future of Terminator for sure. But what about you, Stuart, when you hear his comments here?
His name is James Cameron, the bravest pioneer. No budget too steep, no sea too deep. Who's that? It's him, James Cameron. But yeah, no, okay, so first thing I definitely want to talk about is how he kind of mentions what was it in the article? The idea of kind of moving on from the Connors and moving on from just all the traditional like kind of visual or not just visual, but like kind of the plot aspects that we've gotten in the past with Terminator involving the Connors, involving the T-100s. If he wants to move past that and just kind of like stick with Skynet but go with something that we haven't seen before, I think that's an awesome idea, because as we see in the Terminator Zero, it works. Terminator Zero is kind of the first time we've really gotten to see the Terminator franchise finally be able to move past both John Connor and Arnold Schwarzenegger and just finally focus on a whole new perspective within the Terminator franchise and with Skynet. And I think because of that, it ends up, giving the writers a lot more flexibility. And it just leads to an overall really, really good, original story that's still, like James Cameron said, it's like, well, yes, when people think Terminator, they're going to think the sorry, I keep saying T-100. It's T-800, my bad. So the T-800, people are going to think of that. People constantly think of Arnold Schwarzenegger, of John Connor, yes. But when it comes to the story of Terminator, like he says, it's surviving when you have everything against you, but still being able to keep your morality intact. You can tell that story with Skynet in so many different ways, and it doesn't have to rely on the Connors. I think finally moving on from them, moving on to like all the nostalgia bait that people love about the original Terminator movies, I think that is the smartest move that James Cameron could make, because I think that was definitely what held back the last two Terminator sequels. Like you, I also kind of like Terminator Salvation. I thought it was I thought it was just a fun action movie. I didn't think it was too bad. And Genesis, oh my gosh, I actually think Genesis might be one of my top 10 worst films of all time. Like that movie's existence actually angers me. I dislike that movie so much. And then Dark Fate was just like, it was okay, I thought. But they all have that same problem where they just can't move past what fans like clung to in the original franchise. And they're afraid to kind of like tell their own original story. So if James Cameron comes back to the Terminator franchise and he wants to tell an original story within that universe, I'm all for it. If he's only producing, though, I'm going to say this, I'll be less excited because he did technically have somewhat of an executive producer position when it came to the last two movies. And both those movies had that pattern where when it was being hyped up for movie theaters, he seemed to really be part of the hype, like talking to fans, being like, okay, yeah, no, I think fans are really going to love this one. This one really feels like it connects to my old movies. This is exactly where I would move the franchise. And then the movie comes out to theaters and James Cameron completely backtracks and goes, yeah, no, this movie was terrible. I don't think it worked. I don't know what the studio was thinking. He did that twice. He did that with both Genesis and with Dark Fate. So if he's only producing it, I won't be as excited. But if he's actually coming back to write and direct, or even if he's just directing, I'm all here for it. I again, moving on from the Connors and from Arnold Schwarzenegger, I think is the smartest move the franchise could make at this point.
And I think that's one of the reasons why Salvation has a special place in my heart. Even though we're not moving away from the Connors or even Arnie, the idea that it took place during, after Judgment Day, that this is the world where, robots have kind of taken over. And what is that post-apocalyptic world view and perspective kind of look like? And so I really enjoyed seeing them in that particular time period. And you got somebody like Christian Bale who just does a marvelous job as John Connor in here. But then the movie has got to bring back Arnold Schwarzenegger with a really terrible AI kind of deep fake facial stuff on the robots and whatnot, and eventually kind of loses me. But we had Sam Worthington from Avatar in that movie as like sort of like a weird hybrid, or he was like a Terminator, but he didn't realize that he was, and eventually found out. Sort of look, Salvation's been out for years. If you guys haven't checked it out, it's no spoilers here, but
they spoiled that in the trailer. So
yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
That's true. They did. But I love the concept. I love the idea of at least moving forward into the future in regards to a post-apocalyptic world. And that doesn't mean that that's the direction that James Cameron has to go in order for Terminator to be successful, like just post-apocalyptic stuff now. But I do think different perspectives, different groups of people that are focusing on dealing with sort of the same moment in time of Skynet taking over, or Judgment Day happening, or post-apocalyptic stuff. Like if we can get different characters in those worlds that really have no connection of, I guess we got to find Sarah Connor now to help us, sort of thing, or now we got to find John Connor. Like if we could just move away from that, we might be onto something special here. But we'll see.
Definitely. Forgot. Shoot, never mind.
Okay, no problem. Let's see here. Blossom says Terminator. Holy macaroni, that movie is old. Yeah, Terminator's been around for years. I don't remember what year the first Terminator came out, but they've been.
It was 1984.
Yeah, I've been doing countless Terminator movies since then. Random Rick Reviews. What's up, Random Rick Reviews? Appreciate you coming through. He says The Flex. I'm assuming he's talking about James Cameron's Flex on let me see your two or three highest grossing movies of all time, and then we'll talk.
Which something I will say to that though is that James Cameron, he writes, I would never say that his dialogue is cringe, but it is cheesy, but it is purposefully cheesy at times. Like if you watch Aliens, like it's so over the top and cheesy, like some of the lines you get from each of the characters, but it's entertaining as hell. Like Game Over Man is iconic.
Game over, man.
Get away from her, you bitch, is iconic. They're cheesy, but I love it. So even in Avatar, there's a lot of campy dialogue, especially coming from the general. Like the general is like such a fun villain, I think.
Yeah, like shipped right out of the 90s or something for sure.
Oh, exactly. Yeah, he's straight up from like the 90s, your typical like military villain. So I think that like he doesn't write cringe dialogue. He writes cheesy dialogue, and he writes that cheesy dialogue well.
Yeah, it's pretty impactful. I mean, I think he definitely is, even with his dialogue, he's able to draw sort of emotional connections from the audience, which is why his movies continue to make as much money as they do. And I'm sure there's probably some cheesy lines in something like Titanic also, but don't let go, Jack, don't let go, Rose. Like I'm sure, but people remember that type of stuff. And so yeah, man, I do enjoy James Cameron's movies. But I will say, to be fair, James Cameron doesn't necessarily take criticisms well either.
Oh no.
No, right? Like he's a very prideful guy.
Watch the Mythbusters episode with him, because anytime someone tries to say there was room on the what do you call it? Like the
headboard?
There was room for both Jack and I've actually never seen Titanic. I should point that out there.
Oh, you gotta see it. It's a good film.
Anytime someone says, "Oh, there was room on them for both, why couldn't she just move aside?" he gets so offended by that. It's hilarious. So there's a Mythbusters episode where they actually prove, like, if they were smart about it, yes, theoretically they both could have fit on the thing. And James Cameron's just like, no, I knew what I was doing.
Yeah, he don't handle criticisms too well. But look, man, when it comes to James Cameron, I would agree with you, Stuart. It is one of those things where I hope he has a plan, but I hope his plan doesn't include him just being an executive producer. Like I would need him to have some sort of credits when it comes to the writing of the script. I would need him to be sort of the architect of the moving pieces of where this is going to go. Like I need him to have these points in time that he wants to certainly go ahead and tackle, and maybe bring some people on board, whether that be like a writing room to help him put all this stuff together. I'd be open to that. But if it's just from a producer standpoint, that certainly won't get me excited. But if you're gonna sit here and tell us like Arnold Schwarzenegger, I'll be back, I'm hoping that means you're either going to be behind the camera or writing the script in some capacity. So I hope that's what we wind up getting from him, and I hope that he uses something like Terminator Zero as an influence. And it is just fascinating to me that Terminator Zero, the writer Matt Tomlinson, I believe his name is able to tap into something like that clearly James Cameron agrees in the sense of, we got to get rid of what has made the Connors and Arnold Schwarzenegger and these T-1000 so successful, and really branch out in the future. So we'll see how involved James Cameron will certainly be. But guys, let us know your thoughts. Do you want to see James Cameron write or direct another Terminator film? When will he even find time in between his 7 Avatar sequels that he certainly still has to work on? But is that something you would definitely like to see? Let us know your thoughts in the comment section box below.
James Cameron, explorer of the
Yeah,
sea,
where
with
was
the
that
dying
from?
thirst to be the first. Could it be? It's him, James Cameron. That's from South Park.
I love it, man. I love it. Um, damn, I did have another question on the top of my head, and I just lost it. Yeah, I lost it. Maybe it'll come back. We'll see. But yeah, guys, let us know your thoughts in the comment section box below about your hope for James Cameron to certainly return. Oh, you know what the question I was going to have is,
Oh,
um, with Terminator Zero being successful, do you think there's a chance that James Cameron would reach out to somebody like a Matt Tomlinson and bring him on board to maybe make a Terminator movie?
ooh, that would be awesome. I don't know. I guess it just depends on if he watches it. And I hope he does. I would hope if it's like based on a franchise that you worked on, that you would have some interest in checking it out, especially if it's getting good reviews. So I hope so.
You mean like Alan Moore likes to do for
Is
like
that
his
something?
Watchmen? Isn't Alan
Oh, oh,
Moore the
oh.
Watchmen guy?
Yeah, that's right. Like he refuses to watch the HBO Max Watchmen series, even though I think he should give it a chance. I think he might actually like it, but I don't know. I don't know the band personally. Oh, you're muted.
Sam says, nah, James Cameron can do a True Lies 2 next one in the future. That'd be pretty cool. A True Lies sequel would be pretty neat. Yeah, give me, you know what? Give me both characters back. Give me Jamie Lee Curtis and Arnold Schwarzenegger in the sequel of True Lies. I wonder how that would look in their old age. All
Also,
right.
just curious, random Rick review. Oh wait, no, never mind. I just answered my own question. I was going to ask if the RRR at the very end of it was meant to represent the greatest movie of all time, RRR, Rise Roar Revolt. But then I realized, oh no, random Rick reviews. That's 3 R's. Never mind.
Let's go ahead and change course here from James Cameron. We're going to give you guys some updates in regards to Stranger Things along with Thunderbolts, as David Harbour is currently in the news. I'm not sure if what event he was at. It looks like he might have been at a box lunch giving ambassador. He's an ambassador for box lunch giving, I guess. I guess box lunch is doing something. I'm not sure if I'm not too familiar with what box lunch winds up doing, but David Harbour I got an opportunity to sit down and do some interviews, and he gave us some updates, Stuart, in regards to what we can expect not only from Stranger Things final season, but also Thunderbolts. And so, as somebody looking forward to both of those projects, I thought it'd be interesting for us to dive into what David Harbour is doing. Should we talk about Stranger Things first, or do you want to tackle Thunderbolts first?
Uh, let's do Thunderbolts first, because I think the
Okay.
next topic that we have after this would fit, with the Stranger Things.
Okay, so let's dive into David Harbour's words about Thunderbolts here. Both these articles are actually coming to us from comicbook.com. He's got some words to say in regards to not only Thunderbolts, but really just the Marvel Studios and the fan base right now in regards to in regards to how they are perceiving some of their movies. So let's go ahead and pull this up here. This comes to us from comicbook.com. Let me bring this up here. David Harbour. Okay, I think it's this one. Yeah, here we go. Thunderbolts is coming up, and you're reprising that role in the MCU. Do you know why there is an asterisk in the title? He says yes. When did you find out why there was an asterisk? He says, I mean, they retroactively put the asterisk in. The asterisk was an idea that someone had. What can I say that's not going to get me in trouble? The asterisk is very cool. I understand why people might put an asterisk there, and I'm excited for viewers to see that as well. But again, I can't say any more. What is the okay? And this is probably going to be me showcasing like Adam's been out of high school and school for such a long time. But what is the purpose of an asterisk? With the exception of like when I think of an asterisk on something, I think of like a side note. Like there's more to it than what is just sort of being said. Like there's a deeper meaning behind it, or like a side note. But what is the purpose of an asterisk?
Um,
I'll do some grammar research real
I
quick.
yeah, because I actually have.
Here, purpose of an asterisk. Let's see. Footnotes. Yeah, the most common use of an asterisk is to indicate a footnote at the bottom of a page. The asterisk is placed after punctuation. Also, censoring. It could be used as censoring, but I don't see that as a censoring. It feels like a footnote almost. Um, Repetition in computer science, an asterisk can be used to denote repetition, maybe even multiplication in computer science. So I don't know. That's interesting, but apparently there's a really good reason for it to be there. He says
That's weird because I didn't even notice there was one in the title until just now.
when you're making a huge Marvel movie like that and you're part of an ensemble, are you guys aware of all the rumor mill online about the movie, or like the conversation or theories that people are throwing out? Or do you just totally focus, or you just totally focus on set? He says, yeah, not really. He says, I mean, started to move away from all of that because I feel like a lot of those articles are just AI articles. He's like, I'm like, who wrote this? This isn't even English. He says, but I think that it can be dangerous because I don't want to hear what everyone's opinion is about all kinds of stuff about me. He says, we're very comic book true, which I was pleased about. I think that there might be some speculation of what people understand about the comics as opposed to people that have actually read the comics. He says, I think there's a lot of experts out there that get very annoyed at things. And if you go back and you actually look at it, you might see something different. I think they're very into that idea. And yet it is, of course, very surprising because, I don't think Red Guardian is in any Thunderbolt stuff. So they are adding things, like they are adding and surprising you with things. But there's a lot of stuff that we've done to make it comic book accurate as well. He says, making a movie, you can't really look outside for critiques because everybody sees the poster and they have an opinion. He says, you're like, just watch the 2-hour movie. And if you still hate it, great. If you love it, great. But like, you've got to give us a chance. I think all the speculation in the world is like my fantasies about dying or what. I mean, it's like you can fantasize about horrific things or whatever until you actually see the thing. I'm very proud of this movie, what we shot. I hear it's playing well internally, and I'm excited for people to see it. I think it's going to really surprise people. I think people have seen from the trailer, from the shots. I think it's pretty cool direction of the MCU sort of making now, and I'm excited to be a part of that. What do you take away from his words, Stuart?
Yeah, no, I definitely agree with a lot of what he's saying. I can definitely see why, if I was an actor in the MCU, I would also probably be staying clear from all those articles predicting it to be a disaster, that kind of stuff that he's talking about. Also, when he's like talking about, like, the fan theories that people have of how people will act like they know exactly how a movie's going to go. I love how he says it, like, feels like these are all written by AI articles at this point. And I kind of agree, because you're the big thing you can tell with AI is that AI is repetitive. They repeat things that you have definitely heard before, and it definitely sounds a lot like the kind of the more griftier side of YouTube. It
Yes.
definitely feels like you just hear them repeating the same thing over and over and over. So I do like his response, just like, actually watch the 2-hour movie, and if you like it, great. If not, great, then you can write about how you didn't like the movie. That's totally fine. As long as you're not being like, oh, this movie sucks because, these people can go kill themselves because, it's the internet and people say shit like that. And for some reason, YouTube's okay with that. But yeah, no, I think, yeah, it sounds like he had a good time working on this movie, and it's I'd be lying if I said it was like in my top like Marvel movies that I'm looking forward to. But I'll definitely be checking it out when it comes to theaters.
Yeah, I there is a level of anticipation that I have for Thunderbolts for sure. One, I do love the cast. The trailer that I've seen so far, some of the leaked footage, looks absolutely incredible. From the action sequences that they kind of teased and the leaked footage that I have gotten an opportunity to see from D23. But I do love the cast of characters that they wind up putting in here. I am so curious as to what the storyline is going to be, with the exception of, maybe they find a character like Sentry, but outside of that, I really don't know what the wider scope is out of this. If there is two things that stand out to me when looking at this article, one, he says, I hear it's playing well internally, and I'm excited for people to see it. So it does feel like those at Marvel Studios, those at Disney that have seen it are really pleased with what they've kind of put together. I don't know if that includes like test screenings, or if that's the test screenings for those people internally, or just people that have seen dailies and been editing and seeing it in post production. But that is kind of comforting to learn that it's actually playing relatively well internally. I mean, granted, I have a feeling that if it wasn't a great movie, I don't know if we would still hear it's bad, or if we would hear sources that say that it's bad or not. But the fact that he says he's hearing that it's playing internally certainly gives me some pretty good hope. And I think that also goes in turn to show the idea that Marvel Studios again took time from the writer's strike and the actor's strike to kind of take a step back and look at their projects and see what sort of creative changes they can kind of bring to it, whether that be when filming begins again, or when they're ready to get back into production, bringing in people to rewrite the scripts, or reshoots, or whatever the case certainly might be. It seems as though that time that Marvel Studios took to make changes when people were complaining might pay off for a movie like Thunderbolts. And so I'm really fascinated to kind of see what they put together. But um he also says something about, let me see if I can find it. He says, but I think that it can get dangerous, because I don't want to hear what everyone's opinion is about all kinds of stuff about me. I'm trying to find that line. Oh, okay. Here we go. Here we go. Making a movie, you can't really look outside for critiques, because everybody sees the poster and they have an opinion. And and then he says, yeah, just watch the 2-hour movie. And if you still hate it, that's cool. Great. If you love it, that's great too. This continues to back my statement that I say a lot, that people are not fans of, Stuart. And that's, make movies because you want to make movies. right? Like if you have a story in mind, if you have something that you want to create and make, just make the movie. Like if you're going to be spending your time on film Twitter and worrying about how people are receiving things, or what people think about your movie, and then you're going to be reactionary about making changes and doing all this stuff, like everybody has an opinion. Like you're never going to be able to make a movie purposely that's like great for everybody. So, if you have a solid and good story that you want to tell, just tell that story. And if people love it, they love it. If they hate it, they hate it. But don't allow people's opinions to then dictate the story that you wind up certainly creating. And so, and not to say that some people's opinions don't necessarily matter at the end of the day, but it is one of those things. If you're a big company and you're a big studio, if you know you've got a compelling story to tell, just tell the story and stop worrying about what other people are going to say, especially if you're going to be worrying about what something like a film Twitter cares about your film. You know what I mean? Like
Mhm.
if you're going to be doing that, you're never going to make a successful movie at the end of the day, because you're going to be trying to please too many people. And when you think you've made a movie that pleases people, those same people that say they wanted that will then just move the goalposts further and say, I didn't want it quite like that though, And so it's just like, make the movies. People are going to have opinions regardless. Just make the movies. And so I'm glad that David Harbour mentioned something along those lines, but I'm also glad that he mentioned, hey, you know what, man? People are actually liking this movie that we're presenting to them so far. How do you feel about when he says people internally are liking what they're seeing?
When he says that, definitely raises confidence, because when Marvel basically gets a product that they're not happy with, you hear about it, pretty fast, because of, like,
Yeah.
the Daredevil thing. We hear about how they were not really happy with how the first 3 episodes of that show went, so they ended up just completely scratching and then starting over. Not to mention, you hear about the many, 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 many reshoots that they did for Captain America 4. So hearing that, Marvel seems to be pretty pleased with how this has turned out. I mean, there might be reshoots going on later on in the future, but as of now, it definitely sounds, sounds promising when you puts it that way. That, like, internally, everyone seems to be pretty happy with the project.
Yeah, I definitely agree. And then let's get into some of his comments about Stranger Things, because
Oh, real quick
what's up?
before we move on to Stranger Things, I also just want to point out how perfectly well you also described the what must have been the production for Rise of Skywalker.
Oh, yeah.
Purposely, like because it was like they were trying so hard to please everyone. It's like, okay, we got to take jabs at the Last Jedi because people didn't like the Last Jedi, but we can't completely take jabs at the Last Jedi because some people did like the Last Jedi. We got to find a way to please both fans. And then you get the Rise of Skywalker, which is to this day the only Star Wars movie I do not like. Oh, you're muted.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy how that kind of turned out. Like you could just completely tell it was like Rise of Skywalker turned out to be like this panic film of just putting stuff together, hoping that they please everybody. So it's like, oh, and then the people that didn't like how Finn's storyline went, we got to change that up, and now we got to make him like the savior of the rebels in this sense. There were some people that really liked the shipping of Rey and Ben. Now we got to make sure we put that in the movie, sort of. I mean, it was just kind of all over the place, man. So it's just like if you, granted, to be fair, Disney didn't really necessarily have a full plan as to where they wanted to go with things. But it's just firsthand in regards to how making a movie can turn reactionary instead of just telling the story that you want to tell. So yeah, tell if you got a story, just tell it, man, and people will receive it or not. Like I said before, you think George Lucas gave a f what people thought? Like he had a story to tell and he told it, and people didn't like his stuff for 20 years, and now you come to find out there's a whole generation of people that grew up and love it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I still, yeah, the whole thing with the prequels is just so funny to me. Like when those movies came out, they were hated, and now that we got the Disney sequels, they're loved. And I guarantee you, we're gonna have another sequel
Oh yeah.
trilogies 20 years down the line, and people are gonna hate it, and then they're gonna be like, "Remember how great the Disney sequels were?"
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. All right. And then he also goes into talks a little bit about Stranger Things, and since we got ourselves a season finale or series finale that's set to go ahead and drop as well. Um, Let's see here. Harbour spoke fondly about the series finale table read, which he said was pretty intimate experience for his TV family. He says, "No, the interesting thing is that there are some cameras there, but we didn't do it for the publicists or Instagram people." He says there was something intimate about the way they structured it that I'm hoping that you don't see very much of that, because there was something profound in the sense that we are a family. There is the deeper level. It is about us as individuals who worked together for 9 years since they were kids. And that really came through. There was a real deep kind of honesty and heartbreak and bittersweet quality to it all. He says, in addition to the emotions coming out from the fact that this is the fifth season, he says there were also elements of catharsis when Harbour and the rest of the group got back together to start filming. He says season four was challenging season for a number of reasons. The biggest being COVID and just the ripples of that sent through our industry, because we're an industry of intimacy, which means, we are close. We are about humanity. We're about engagement. And we had masks and face shields, and we were just very afraid of each other. So that was really tough. I also had to do a lot of weird weight loss stuff. That was really tough. The being alone thing, it was kind of okay because I had to. He says, I mean, we've been together a long time. It's like a family. Sometimes you need a vacation. So I think that that was sort of fun. I had guys like Tom, and it was a really cool storyline. So I enjoyed it. He says, getting back to season five, though, he says, getting back to the OG crew of this final season has been wild in a way, because we have come so far and it's not the show that we started in season one. I think that's a wild experience for all of us. I mean, those kids were 11 years old when we started, 12 years old. Now they're 20 and they're shaving and they aren't kids anymore. He says, Finn just directed a movie. He says, I think to have all come back full circle, we just read we just did a read through of the last episode, and the amount of crying, like, the episode is very beautiful, but there's a deeper level also of that. This was actually their childhood. They were 11 years old and grew up and fought this monster, and I've never seen so much heavy weeping from teenagers or young adults in my life. um let me say something real quick here. um One, I'm really gonna miss Stranger Things. Um, there are very few shows that I think capture the imagination of, like, nationwide, like really big, full momentum of, like, everybody in the world almost seemingly watching this show. I felt it when I watched Lost. I felt it when I watched Game of Thrones. And I felt it ever since Stranger Things season one came out, and just how much of a impact Stranger Things had sort of on pop culture. And even though we've had to wait a really long time just to get to season five, with all the delays and how long it's taken to write and direct some of these episodes and stuff, I do feel like the payoff is definitely going to be there, because I do think we've got, like you said, 10, 12 years of being with these kids and seeing them grow, and seeing how almost inexplicably, with the exception of like some of the weaker aspects of season two, it almost feels like each season just continues to kind of get better and better. And so I am really looking forward to seeing what they do here for season five. But I think there's a really big emphasis of just how emotional I think is going to be, clearly for the cast and crew, but I think also for us as audiences. And then secondly, at this past Dallas Fan Expo, we just had Caleb and, damn, what is the other kid's name? I can't remember his other kid's name off the top of my head, unfortunately. I'm sorry. But we had two of the kids from Stranger Things here at the convention. And at the time, in the middle of a summer, they had mentioned that while they had begun filming already, they still had not read the last couple of episodes. So they didn't quite know how the show was going to end. Because I think it was Joe Deckelmeyer from Screen Rant, when he asked them the question of, like, how are you handling having to say goodbye to these characters that you've been attached to? And they were in a really weird position, in the sense of, like, we have a feeling that we're going to be sad, but we don't know, like, how that's going to showcase itself yet, because we haven't even seen we haven't even read the last couple of episodes yet. And that kind of surprised me that they were hiding the last few episodes. So the fact that David Harbour confirms that they've now had a table read, and the amount of crying that's kind of going on, it does add to what they mentioned in their convention. In the sense, they joked around also about who they thought was going to be the heaviest crier out of all of them, when it comes to reading it and having to kind of say goodbye and whatnot. And so, I do feel for this cast. I'm sure it's going to be really emotional, send off for all of them, sort of thing. But like he said, when they've invested all their time and they're now in their 20s, some of them maybe about to be legally able to drink, if not close. They definitely have seen changes in their lives and in each other, and it kind of come full circle for them. I'm really excited and sad for them at the same time to see them complete this. But yeah, this gives me hope. This is going to be a really emotional season finale. So I'm getting my tissues ready, Stuart, to certainly say the least.
You and me both. Yeah, like several things that he said kind of stood out to me. The biggest one is that Stranger Things is not the same show that it was in season one, which I very much agree with, especially with the way things ended in the last season. Because going into this season, you can't have the same like kind of status quo setup that you had in season one. Season 1, 2, and 3. All of them, despite having like very heavy events from the previous season, they all start out like, hey, everything's back to normal now. We can finally go on with our lives. Oh, nope, never mind. Turns out that thing we thought we fixed is still there. But you don't have that at the end of season 4. At the end of season 4, they know they haven't won yet. They know that everything is still going on, and the world is about to find out too, because of like what we see at the very end of that. So we can't start things out with the same status quo that we got into the previous seasons. Now we have to start things out with things already hitting the fan like right from the get-go. So what he said there, definitely agree with. And I haven't even read the script for season 5, so I don't even know what he knows, but I can already agree with him there. And yeah, it is so crazy to think about how young they were when the show started. Like, he mentioned them being like 11 and 12, and I totally forgot. They were like really, really young at the beginning. And now, yeah, like he said, they're full grown adults. Finn is actually directed a movie apparently, which I didn't know about until this interview. But now I'm kind of curious to check this out. Yeah, man, like it's a show that had always had its dark elements, of course, from beginning, but like as it goes on, it just gets more and more mature. It ages with its cast and characters, and of course, I'm sure its audience, because I'm sure there are probably some people out there who were watching the show when they were really young and have now kind of grown up with the show, with the characters. Man, I don't even know what else to say other than, yes, I am so looking forward to this final season. And it's good to know that the cast and crew are getting emotional about it, because, if they're getting emotional about it, it's very likely that I will be getting emotional about this and how it all wraps up at the end. Oh, you are muted.
Sorry, my computer froze on me for a second there.
Oh,
Yeah, man, I'm really looking forward to this final season. I totally agree. If the cast and crew are going to be getting emotional, I definitely know I'm going to be getting emotional too. I do wonder who's got the ugliest cry face. That's really going to do it for me though. So we'll see how that turns out, man. But yeah, it's just kind of crazy to see them kind of come full circle and just remembering how young they were and where they are right now. I mean, Millie Bobby Brown has got like a huge deal with Netflix. She's doing a ton of things right now. I wonder if she's going to be getting into directing also. I didn't even know Finn directed a movie as well. So I'm going to have to see what it is that he's creating over there. But some great updates for David Harbour in regards to Stranger Things and Thunderbolts. But I definitely want to know from you guys, what are you guys looking forward to the most? Whether that be the final season of Thunderbolts, the final season of Stranger Things, or even the Thunderbolts movie. I definitely want to know your guys' thoughts in the comment section box below. And we will move on to our next topic after that, Stuart. But there is something that dropped this just now that I wanted to bring up.
Ooh.
It's just a poster. We got a brand new poster for the upcoming War of the Rohirrim, which I think looks pretty epic.
Dang.
Um,
That is something I would love to hang up on my wall.
yeah, it's a really great poster. They just dropped this over on Twitter today. History becomes legend. December 23rd, I believe that's what that says. December 13th. I can't see. But it's going to be in theaters. The animated movie, The War of the Rohirrim. I'm really looking forward to that.
I cannot remember the last time there was an American production, specifically American production of a 2D animated film. Like I know there's going to be obviously 3D in this film as well, but like the last one I can remember was whichever came first between Princess and the Frog or the Winnie
Mm.
the Pooh movie. That's like the last time I can remember an American animated movie coming to theaters. So this is, and that was like back in 2010. So it's been like 14 years, and we finally have an American 2D animated movie coming back into theaters, which is awesome to me.
Um, Um, I meant to ask you as we move on to our next topic too. We are going to be moving to some television talk here for you guys as we've got Squid Game season 2 in the news this week. Good old Lee Jung Jae, most recently from his time in the Acolyte season 1. I think he did a masterful job, pun intended, for him portraying Master Soul. And I'm really excited to kind of see him back for this upcoming season. We also, Stuart, got ourselves a brand new teaser poster for it as well, which I thought was pretty cool, seeing him drag the bloody competitor there, as it's going to be dropping this holiday season, December 26th, day after Christmas. What a wonderful present to have ready for us, to certainly say the least. Did you watch Squid Games season 1, and what did you think?
Oh my god, I absolutely loved Squid Game season 1. I'm definitely excited to see season 2. I didn't even know what's coming out this year because we haven't even gotten like much of a trailer for it or anything like that.
Well, we just got one this week.
Ooh.
And if for those of you who have not had the opportunity to check it out, let's go ahead and watch it for ourselves. Because I personally, I think I've only seen it once, but we will go ahead and play the trailer for you guys as well. So let's switch gears here. This is for us teaser trailer for season 2 of Squid Games.
Ooh.
게임 준비가 완료됐습니다.
I am fascinated. I am fascinated by the idea that the people inside that work within the Squid Games, how some of them have guns, and I'm wondering what they're shooting at. Like, is that one of their new games? Like, why are they killing some of their competitors in here? Like, what is going on?
Probably either shooting down the losers or shooting down someone who is trying to escape or something like that. That'd be
Mm.
my assumption. But I hope, yeah, that we get new games in this one. Because man, they were really creative with how they did it in the previous season, especially like oh my gosh, the one that I loved watching was the tug of war one. That one definitely had me on the edge of my seat the entire time. I mean, they all did, but I think the tug of war game was the one that really stood out to me the most.
Did you ever watch the actual Squid Game challenge, the game show?
Oh my gosh. No. Okay. So I actually thought that was a fun idea to bring the Squid Games into like an actual, making an actual competitive game. And I heard a lot of people complaining about this show, being in production. I'm like, well, why? It's just, whatever. Never in a million years did it actually occur to me that they would try to recreate the same harsh conditions from the show, including kind of like the food supply that the competitors got, along with the really crappy place that they all have to sleep in with only being able to share like a limited amount of bathrooms. So I'm like, wait. So they actually did all the stuff that the movie itself was making fun of. Basically, all the stuff that the movie said is wrong, they decided to actually bring into an actual reality show. That actually kind of pissed me off and made me go, no, I'm not watching this.
Yeah, me and the girlfriend. I will say I did personally like the game show, and then I wind up hearing about all the complaints that the competitors certainly had about participating in it. But I thought overall it was a pretty good show for certainly what it was. But I guess after watching this trailer, doesn't he have the gentleman that approaches him at the door? Is I can't remember if Lee Jung Jae's main character is like has a relative or he's looking for somebody and that person might be, I can't remember if there was a connection between him and somebody within the game.
No, no one with the connection was the old man who turned out to be like the head of the whole thing. But no, I think you're
Right.
thinking of the FBI. Was he an
Yes.
FBI or a cop? No, I think he was just a regular cop.
Yes.
But like, yeah, there was him. Damn, I actually can't even remember how that whole story ended
I can't
now.
remember how the story ended either, but it seems like he's approaching him. He meets him at his hotel room or something like that. I guess when I look at the trailer, one of the things, especially when you get the glimpse of like his number, I'm just thinking to myself, how is he gonna get out of this? Like, like you literally, it's like a one in I don't even know how many competitors there were in the previous one, but like the chances are so slim of winning it. And the fact that he won it and he survived in the first season, it's like, bro, how are you going to survive this season? Like, I can't imagine that he wins again. And so there's a part of me, Stuart, that's like, please don't give me 2 seasons in the same year where you kill off Lee Jung Jae. Like I just can't, I can't do it. You killed him in the Acolyte. Don't kill him in Squid Game season 2, please. That's like what I'm dreading the most right now.
Mhm. No, I think like he's clearly there not to compete. He's clearly there to try to take the company down and try to expose them. So I'm very curious on how he's going to go about that. That's going to be really cool to see. I am also curious, like, what happened to his hair? Because, like, in the previous season, it ended with him like getting a whole new style. Like, what didn't he like dye it red? If I'm not
Red.
mistaken.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm surprised he just kind of went back to normal there. I'm like, oh, what was the point of setting that up in the previous season if you're not going to have it in this season?
Well, you know,
Um,
oh, go ahead, sir. Go ahead.
oh, but I'm also thinking like his whole purpose there in the games is try to get like all the people like competing to revolt against the people holding them against their will.
You might be onto something there. But you know what? We might have some answers for you. We have a great article from Entertainment Weekly this week. Squid Game director and Lee Jung Jae actually talked about season 2 to reveal heavier, darker season 2 will be a game within a game. This sounds like some Saw shit right here.
Oh my gosh, darker. I wonder how they're going to pull that off.
All right. It says after winning, let me see. Song Ji-hung, aka Player 456, is ditching the questionable trauma response hair color he debuted in season 1 finale after winning $4.5 billion. But it wasn't soon enough for the actor, who tells Entertainment Weekly that he still had to come back and shoot in my red hair at the beginning of season 2. He said it felt very strange to say the least. Ji-hun's hair won't be the only thing that's changed when Squid Game finally returns December 26th, more than 3 years after sparking an increase in green tracksuit sales. Maybe I should get a green tracksuit now. The director reveals that Ji-hun is a different person entirely after the events of season 1, not just surviving the games, but also learning his mother died while he was away and his daughter moved to the States. In season 2, you will not be getting the foolish and clumsy or childish at times Ji-hun that you saw in the beginning. You will get a much heavier and darker side of Ji-hun. He also adds the huge amount of survivor's guilt from being the sole survivor out of 456 players. He spent the past 3 years planning his revenge. He spent that time believing that these games must not continue and he must put an end to it. He spent that time trying to track down those who are behind the game. The new season begins after that extended time jump, and Ji Hung has a new mission of wanting to put an end to these games, even ever being held in the first place. So there you go, Stuart. That's his motivation, like you predicted. After using his new fortune to try and do that from the outside world, only to continually fail, he realizes the only way to accomplish his goal is by re-entering the game to take it down from the inside. Real quick, the fact that there are 456 players, and when he comes into the game, is player 456. I don't think he was player 456 last time, or was he? I can't recall. But it does make me wonder, is every 456 a repeat winner or somebody? You know what I'm saying? Like, I wonder if that's the case. I wonder if there's something like even more to him having being 456 out of everybody. That's just an inquiry that I have in my head. Ji-hun is back in his tracksuit, Lee confirms, but warns that viewers shouldn't expect to see a replay of season 1. Ji-hun's purpose is not only
sorry. But yeah, it was 456 in the first season.
Oh, so so they're giving him the same number back to back?
Yeah.
That's pretty crazy. Ji-hun's purpose is not to play the game, but to go after those who have created the game and put a stop to it. Compared to every other participant within the game, and also himself in season 1, the approach that he takes is going to be very different this time around. It could almost be described as a game within a game. But because Ji-hun has experienced the games before, doesn't mean he'll have a leg up on his competition. Most of the games will be new this time around, is what he says. There are, once again, simple children's games that a lot of kids in Korea grew up playing. I remember being on set and being reminded of my childhood games. While the director is reluctant to reveal what kinds of new games fans will see this season, he explains that he wanted to open up the games to be more universally recognized this time. In many different countries around the world, there will be some kind of version similar to those games that you probably have played as a child. They're both going to be very easy to understand and play and very fun. So I think one of those games that we got last year was probably red light, green light, that I think everybody can knows how to play. But the other games, I think, well, with the exception of maybe Tug of War as well, but the other games were definitely Korean style games, to certainly say the least. So I am curious to see like what they switch up or what they bring in here for sure.
I was disappointed because so the one game that they did in the first season where it was the sugar, it was like the honeycomb cookie, and you have to like cut out the shape without like breaking it. So I actually got one of those because they were selling them. I can't remember what market, but there was a market around San Francisco that was selling them. I got one. Yeah, no, the thing came out super easy. It was like, oh man, so it clearly wasn't the same one they were using in the in the TV show.
And lastly, and this is, you can read the article for yourself in full if you want, but this will be the last paragraph I read. Ji-hung won't be as invested in winning again, as he focuses instead on getting to the creators of the game, but he'll still be playing to survive each round. So what are the chances that he can make it to the end and win again? He said, when I was reading the scripts, that was the top of the mind for me. That was what I wanted to find out and was curious about. How far will Ji-hung be able to make it in the games? And when will he be eliminated, if ever? And if he is eliminated, will he really die? There are so many twists and turns, is what he says. And you can feel free to read the rest of the article if you want to. But they did give us some brand new shots here of first looks at the upcoming season. So Stuart, I mean, you hear all these things, man. What do you take away from it? What are you excited for?
I mean, literally everything he said. So the fact that, he's not the same character that we see in season one, which I mean, that was heavily, heavily implied by the end of season one, anyways, like that he was not the same gambling addict, bubbling fool that we kind of like see in the beginning. Um, you know, uh, it's going to be interesting because I know for a fact that we're probably unlike the beginning of season one, we're going to be kind of rooting for him from the beginning. But I'm very curious like what his overall plan is because he's going back in there, but how does he think he's going to take this place down? And obviously, if things went too smoothly for him, it wouldn't make for a good show. So how is this place prepared for him? Do they know that he's competing to take him down? Do they realize that he was one of the previous winners of this game? Or is this seemingly well organized Squid Game somehow like not as organized as they try to appear, which we got hints at in the previous season, given how easy it was for the one cop to be able to infiltrate them. So I hope we get a little bit more on them because it kind of seems like they work kind of like the Empire and Star Wars. They're all show, but when you kind of like really delve into those layers, you see that they're not as organized or not as like strong as they appear to look. Especially with how like things are ran with I can't remember what they call them, but kind of like the guards, with their different symbols on their mask. We see that the really lower rank people that work there genuinely don't even know what they're doing half the time. Much like how, with the Empire and Star Wars, you get the stormtroopers whose armor is weaker than the clone troopers, but it looks intimidating and that's why they wear it, even though it like adds no benefits for them whatsoever. So yeah, that's that all to be said. Yeah, I'm very excited to see how this all clashes together. And I'm also one more thing I'm curious about. Is he working alone or does he have people trying to help him? That is the number one thing I'm very curious about.
Yeah, I think for me that's my big question too is there's a part of me that feels that he may not be working alone. I do wonder if there's maybe one person on the inside that recognizes him or knows that he competed before that might be helping him out. Whether or not that means that they can give him all the answers to how to win these games, or if he's truly sort of on his own in the sense of like having to not give away that you have an upper hand compared to everybody else. But I could easily see like as he's sleeping, him like navigating through the back alleys and like trying to make his way, through everything to try and get to the inner circle of what's going on here. So there is a part of me that wants to believe that he might have help on the inside, or maybe he's not even aware that he has help, but somebody is helping him. And maybe as the season progresses, he starts becoming aware, like, okay, maybe there's somebody else here that really wants to take this organization down also. So I do hope there's a little bit of him being deceiving to the games in the sense of some people don't know that he's there, but maybe the exception of like one person and one person with power or one person that's got some insight that might be helping him navigate his way through this. Because I can't imagine that he wins again. And so the one thing that comes to my mind is, okay, maybe he loses a game, but the one game that he loses is like the one game where you don't die, or maybe they fake his death or something like that and keep him around, behind the scenes. I really have no idea, but in order to make a Squid Game season 2 and to bring the same guy back and to put him back in the game, there's got to be a lot of twists and turns like they tease at in here, and I'm ready for it, to be honest with you.
Same.
Marcelino, what's up, Marcelino? He says, I wish season 2 didn't take so long to make. Yeah, and that's what we were just talking about, right? Like how could we get seasons back to back so long ago, but now it's almost an uphill battle just to make these seasons back to back for us every year. While I'm excited for Squid Game season 2, I think I'm more excited for Alice in Borderland season 3. I like it more in the Squid Game's done better. I don't think I've ever seen Alice in Borderland. Have you, Stuart?
No, I have not.
Maybe it's certainly worth checking out. But I do love Squid Games, and I think it won some Emmys, if I'm not mistaken, as well. But,
I believe it did.
Just please don't kill off Lee Jung Jae in this season. I can't deal with him being killed off in 2 seasons back to back that he's been in this year. Please don't do that. But yeah, guys, you've had the opportunity to see brand new looks, brand new posters. What's your excitement level for December 26th when Squid Game Season 2 drops? Let us know your thoughts in the comment section box below. Sam, he says, Alice in Borderland is an amazing season, amazing show. Yeah, maybe I'll check it out.
Okay.
Yeah, 2 people giving it high praise.
Yeah.
Is that on Netflix? Is that on Netflix?
Let me check actually. Oh wait, yes, it is. It is.
I wonder, are they still trying to? There's a part of me that thinks to myself, like, are they trying to do a Squid Game American adaptation? I'm
Oh
trying to
God,
remember
I
if
hope not.
I hope not either. They always try and do shit like that.
Mhm.
All right, Stuart, let's move on to our next topic, shall we? As we're going to get into our favorite bag here, man, because we're both big Star Wars fans. As Skeleton Crew is back in the news here this week. We've got some juicy information too in regards to Skeleton Crew that I think might open up a bag of worms as we talk about this a little bit further, Stuart. That I really want to bounce off of you, but this week, we got not only some brand new exclusive images from Skeleton Crew that's set to go ahead and drop December 3rd on Disney Plus, but we also got some brand new details as Entertainment Weekly got the opportunity to not only release these images, but talk a little bit more about the upcoming series itself. So let's go ahead and immediately dive into this, Stuart. This is from Entertainment Weekly. Star Wars Skeleton Crew exclusive photos reveal Jaleel White as the space pirate. Did I do that? Good old Urkel himself is coming to the Star Wars universe, baby. We got some exclusive images for you guys too. Let me pull this one up. If you want to find Steve Urkel himself, Jaleel White, right there next to the really cool wolf creature that they've created, bald and everything. But that's our first look here. Entertainment Weekly article says, they've got some first look at space pirates below. They've got from left to right, you've got Vance, who I think we've seen Vance, and actually right next to Jaleel White to his left here, or to his right, technically, to the left of the photo, Vance. We've seen him in The Mandalorian, I believe, a couple of times. And then you've got Steve Urkel's character called Gunter, not to be mistaken for the WWE superstar Gunther. This is Gunter, Gunter, is who Jaleel White is playing. Next to him is Brutus, the wolf here. Pretty cool. And then I guess the three-eyed creature here is Shelt, if I'm pronouncing that right. He says, those are pirates, confirms Ford of the photo subjects above, space pirates. And not just any space pirates, but that is the one that, other than Urkel himself, Jaleel White, looking vaguely cyborg-esque as Gunter. It says, with Skeleton Crew taking place in the same time frame as shows like The Mandalorian, Book of Boba Fett, and Ahsoka, after the fall of the second Death Star and before the rise of the First Order, that means that there is a lack of what one might call Imperial enforcement. Naturally, that allows nefarious forces to thrive. With the era we're in, we're kind of getting to play with that lawless thing, is what Christopher Ford says. The Empire is gone, so we're playing with that part of the galaxy that has a resurgence of piracy. It says pirates played a role in season 3 of The Mandalorian as folks like Gorian Shard and Vane created chaos on Navarro, and now it appears we will meet more unscrupulous characters of the same ilk. They go on to say, pirates are talked about so much in Star Wars, Ford notes. People would call Han Solo a pirate, and he'd be like, how dare you? And we've seen some awesome pirates in animated shows. So this was something where both Dave Filoni and Jon Favreau were really excited to do more pirate stuff. He says exploring the edges of wild space is something that co-creator John Watts is excited to do, not just due to his love of Star Wars, but also because of a love of a certain LucasArts video game series that dates all the way back to 1990. He said, John Watts said, I'm also a big fan of Monkey Island. He says that's also classic Lucas. So somewhere between Star Wars Pirates and Monkey Island Pirates, I think we found our sweet spot.
There was I thought he was going to say a completely different name when he said Lucas Arts, and then he mentioned the 90s. I'm like, oh, is he going to say Dark Forces? Oh, Monkey Island. Never mind.
Oh
That's
yeah,
not even Star Wars.
yeah, Monkey Island. And then they had this other photo here. Finding the sweet spot was something that Watts and Ford were looking to do for the series as a whole, and they created a entirely new world within the already pre-existing one of Star Wars. A world. Hold on, wait. Where did it go? Oh, a world that certain rules. Oh, a world with certain rules that can't be broken. He says, what's great about working at Lucasfilm is that they'll let you know if you've gone outside of the boundaries. He says, Dave Filoni is our goalkeeper. He says, and Watt means that literally on of the creative visionary overseeing the Star Wars streaming galaxy. He actually is a great hockey player, but he's also a figurative goalkeeper. He says, we will come up with ideas of things that we like, and he'll be like, actually, maybe it's this, or hey, we already did something like that somewhere else. And you'll always end up with a bunch of other episodes of Star Wars to go watch and things to go read. And it's good. You feel like you can safely explore things creatively without making some huge canonical mistake. Christopher Ford also adds, and he gets both sides of that because he did that mentoring under George Lucas. So he gets that thing of, I want to make a whole new kind of a Jedi. And then someone be like, okay, hold on. A lot of people have thought about this. Let's do this the right way. And so it's helpful. Even when it comes to pirates. So Skeleton Crew set to premiere Tuesday, December 3rd.
I am so excited for this show. I hope we can
Yeah.
do our live reviews like we were doing with Acolyte, because that was a lot of fun.
I hope so too. I really would like to get the Jedi Council together. Hey, what's up, Blossom, with a $2 super chat? Thank you so much for certainly coming through and helping the channel out this way. Again, we are supported by you guys, so it definitely does go a long way. The Sonic I grew up with, holy macaroni, Sonic. He voiced Sonic.
You didn't know that? Yeah, he
No.
voiced two Sonics. He voiced because there were like two Sonic the Hedgehog cartoons that came out at like the exact same time in the early 90s. One of them was more like kind of a comedy. The other one was more of an action show. But yeah, he voiced Sonic in both of them.
Wow, that's kind of bananas to me. I didn't even realize that. Thank you for teaching me something new today, Blossom. I appreciate that.
Oh, my bad.
She also did go on to say, he says, yeah, Jaleel White is so hardcore. Besides Steve, I grew up with him through Sonic as well as Sonic Underground. He was Sonic as well as his brother and sister in that series. Shit, I didn't even know that, Blossom. Thank you so much for bringing that to my attention. I learned something new today. So Stuart, you hear this, the focus on pirates now, idea of Dave Filoni helping them sort of navigate this story in the sense of making sure that their ideas kind of fall into the boundaries of not making too many, canonical mistakes here, sort of thing. Really tapping into that world of pirates and bringing them into a resurgence now that the empire is down, or the empire doesn't exist anymore. What are your thoughts on what they're saying so far?
I'm hearing a lot of things that I like. You know what? This is all giving me like the vibes of the Steven Spielberg movie Hook, but in space. So I like the idea of like, following like a whole like different type of cast of characters that we normally wouldn't see in Star Wars. That being, of course, a bunch of little kids, and they're facing off against some, pirates that we see in The Mandalorian are quite deadly pirates. They're definitely not afraid to hurt anyone that gets in their way. So I'm very curious how these kids who are lost in space end up coming into conflict with these pirates, and why it is these pirates are, the antagonists in this show. Yeah, like I said, it's I like that Star Wars is constantly trying something new all the time, and while it may not be everyone's favorite, at least there's still that effort of them not just trying to repeat the Skywalker saga over and over. They're at least trying something new. They're experimenting, and I wish the show the best of luck. I'm definitely going to be tuning in every week for it.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. And this is a series that I'm actually really looking forward to. I love Jude Law. I really was impressed with what John Watts did with the Spider-Man trilogy. And so for him to take those sensibilities and bring them into Star Wars and kind of make it feel like a Amblin sort of Steven Spielberg-esque sort of series really captures my attention, and I cannot wait. I will also echo sentiments of what you said, Stuart, that this may not necessarily be everybody's cup of tea because for me, the world of, well, I'm okay with things like bounty hunters. Pirates don't necessarily do it for me in Star Wars. It's not really like a branch of Star Wars that I'm certainly a big fan of kind of exploring. For me, when I watch episodes of like The Mandalorian or Book of Boba Fett, like anytime that there's a pirates kind of storyline, there's a part of me that just, I don't want to say I don't really care, but they're just usually not like my favorite characters, with the exception of like Hondo. I think Hondo's kind of grown on me throughout like Clone Wars and Rebels and whatnot. I didn't really care for the Vance character that we saw in Mandalorian either. So, that world doesn't really fascinate me, but I do think if there's anything out of the world of pirates that might fascinate me, it might be like the costume designs and the creature designs.
Mhm.
Like there was a really cool, from the trailer that we saw, a really cool owl with like this cloak or something like that. I don't know if he was like the captain of his ship, like a cybernetic owl or something like that, that was on some sort of like mechanical device. I don't know what it was, but it was like just visually the coolest thing I've ever seen. And so even when we look at some of the photos of the pirates, really cool designs for them. And so that is one of the aspects that I'm looking forward to. But a whole world full of pirates, I don't necessarily know if I'm like really, really enthusiastic in that regards. But Skeleton Crew is a series that I am looking forward to watching. If there is anything out of this though, like I am curious as to what they're making Jude Law out to be. When they mentioned something in the article here about about like a new type of Jedi. He says, I want to make a whole new kind of a Jedi. And then someone else being like, okay, hold on. A lot of people have thought about this. Let's do this the right way. And so it's helpful. I do wonder what that new type of Jedi is, or different type of Jedi is. Clearly, I don't know if Jude Law was, survived Order 66, was he part of um the Jedi Temple at some point in time? Is this somebody that discovered they had force abilities later in their life and are like using these force abilities for piracy, maybe not necessarily following the Jedi way sort of thing, even though the kids believe he might be a Jedi just because he's sort of using the Force, right? Like, so I am kind of fascinated to see what Jude Law's journey is certainly going to be in regards to this. So if there is anything I am kind of looking forward to, it is definitely going to be Jude Law in here. And then secondly, I'm glad to see Dave Filoni certainly doing his part to make sure that creatively everything is working together. Like I'll be quite frank with you, Stuart. I am kind of surprised as to and I don't know if this is a lot of Star Wars fans or if this is just again Star Wars Twitter, but I am really surprised at the amount of people that have seemingly turned their back on Dave Filoni these days. I feel like there's a lot more, uh, you know, down talking about Dave Filoni's capacity in regards to what he's bringing to Star Wars. And I do think it's relatively unfair because, to be quite frank with you, here at Hero Report, we have been telling people for years that people that have been wanting to see Dave Filoni take over live action, and he should replace Kathleen Kennedy. He's the next person behind George Lucas. He knows what he's talking about. Give Dave Filoni the reins. And now that we've seen Dave Filoni in live action, people are like, no, he's been compromised. It's not what we wanted from Dave Filoni. He's gone woke. He's not making, like, no, Dave Filoni is the same person that he's always been. The problem is people didn't seem to understand that live action and animation are two completely
Mhm.
different things. And this is the growing pains of Dave Filoni growing and learning how to bring live action to life. separate from what it's like to put pen to paper to make something animated. And I do think that Dave Filoni, with the experience that he's getting under Kathleen Kennedy, working with great directors, working with great writers, people now like even John Watts here, to kind of see their methods and learn from them also. I do think Dave Filoni will only continue to get better, but there's clearly going to be growing pains when it comes to things of him doing anything sort of live action, whether that be his Ahsoka series that some people all of a sudden didn't like or weren't really big fans of. And now, the anticipation for season 2 might be a little bit down. Maybe the anticipation for some of Dave Filoni's movies might be a little bit down. It's a work in progress, and I think Dave Filoni will eventually get to that point of being brilliant. But I love the fact that he's continuing to help out these other creators and keeping them within the Star Wars sandbox, and now allowing them to step on other people's toes and still have that ability to kind of create and have fun and uplift them as creators. And so that's exactly what I want from Dave Filoni, and I hope that he's continuing to absorb this stuff and just getting better at what he's initially going to be doing. So I'm excited to see just how well he's working with everybody else.
Nah, man, I think he just got infected by the woke mind virus. You know how it just easily gets spread around, and oh man. But yeah, no, like with Dave Filoni, like obviously I didn't think Ahsoka was quite as good as Star Wars, either Rebels or the Clone Wars, but I liked it just fine. I thought it was all right for what it was, and I think that right now with his position that he's in, he's been doing a pretty good job. And again, like I just said before, the big thing is that it looks like he's constantly looking for something new, and he's not just trying to, like trying to tell the exact same story over and over. And I like how he's not sticking to just the one timeline established in The Mandalorian. I love that he's willing to explore like other timelines, other types of stories to tell, that kind of stuff. And not everything has to be building up to what he's doing with Ahsoka. Everything can kind of build up to its own big story and that kind of thing. The other thing too, man, I feel like the reason that fans don't like Dave Filoni now, or fans are turning against Dave Filoni, is they're discovering, oh wow, he's actually not as toxic as we are. He's actually like a decent person. Nah, this guy shouldn't be in charge of Star Wars. How dare he be a good person? Oh, I think you're muted.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy to see how people have kind of turned their backs on Dave Filoni and not like being patient with him and allowing him as just a creator to kind of come along in his own speed, because I would agree with you when it comes to Ahsoka. Do I wish Ahsoka provided us with more? Yeah, absolutely. But some of the aspects I really enjoyed, like the Ahsoka and having the return of Hayden Christensen as Anakin, I thought was really brilliant in that also. I do want to see him work better in regards to dialogue, because it did feel like childish animated dialogue at times, and I really want to see him kind of expand upon that as well. Maybe get some better fight choreographers also for season 2. But these are all kind of learning lessons for Dave Filoni, and I'm sure the more experience that he gets behind the camera and writing for live action, the better that he'll be. I think he's somebody that can bend and change course if he certainly has to, and continue to grow. So hopefully people will come back around to Dave Filoni here. But on top of Star Wars Skeleton Crew, Stuart, there is a report going around here this week too. 2 reports are actually dropping this week. One from Production Weekly. There are some Twitter handles that are sourcing from Production Weekly saying that a Star Wars pirate show starring Jude Law is reportedly in development. So it seems as though they might actually be having a spinoff off of something like Skeleton Crew. It says it's in development, so it might be in early development. I don't know how quickly that would mean like, hey, we're gonna start getting into production for a show, or if they have like concept art and scripts written or not. But apparently, according to Production Weekly, there is a Star Wars pirate show in development on the docket right now to be made. Whether that's going to be live action or animation, who certainly knows, but it seems as though they already have plans for a Pirates spin-off from Skeleton Crew if that pans out.
See, that's where I'll kind of go off of what you said earlier, that like space, that like you know, not being too excited about like pirates in general. I'll have to definitely see how these characters work in this show first, but I don't know. It's like with the characters we were introduced to in The Mandalorian, and I'm sure Jude Law would add a whole another dynamic to that crew. I don't see them being able to carry a whole show at the moment, but you know, I want to wait until after I see Skeleton Crew to like, you know, confirm, you know, my worries about that. But as of now, I'd say my hype level for that would be pretty low at the moment, but that could easily change.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to see Skeleton Crew first to see if that's something I'm kind of fascinated in. You know, it wouldn't surprise me if it's like a prequel series for Jude Law's character to maybe help us understand him a little bit more after we experience his character in Skeleton Crew. Animation would be cool if you're looking to keep Jude Law on as like a voice actor for his character, maybe, or even live action. I would be completely open to that if they wanted to go that route. But yeah, I mean, as far as my levels of anticipation, there's absolutely none there right now, just because it's not a world that I care about. But I may come to care about it after watching Skeleton Crew. If there is any issue I have though, Stuart, with this announcement, it just I feel some type of way about the cancellation of the Acolyte, bro. Like I just do.
Mhm.
Um, one Again, I don't know what made Lucasfilm decide, hey, we're gonna make a spinoff of the show that nobody has even seen yet. Like the confidence level that they have behind the idea that they even have this on a production slate before anybody's even seen a first episode of a Skeleton Crew. One, it makes me think, like, did you guys not have any confidence in the Acolyte? That you didn't even have like a season 2 like prepared beforehand? Like there felt like a very wait and see when it comes to the Acolyte, but there's no wait and see for Skeleton Crew. You know, it's like, hey, we're just gonna go ahead and start production or pre-production on this other potential spinoff here if Skeleton Crew is successful. But the Acolyte just didn't even get any of that level of attention at all. And I just feel like the optics of it being announced or coming out are just really bad for something like the Acolyte, where, you know, it was very female led, very diverse crew. But the one thing that does get a spinoff is a white male character that's going to get his own show. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And look, I got no problem with white male characters. I'm just saying optics wise, it just feels like a bad look, like in the sense of like it's that lesson that we say, like, does Hollywood ever learn lessons, Stuart? And we say, yeah, they do, but all the bad ones.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
it's like now that shows like movies like Madam Web didn't do well. To be fair, Web was a trash movie, to be fair. But you know, then you look at things like the Acolyte and how it was received and the vitriol of how it was pushed back. This feels like a safe move from Disney, in a sense of, let's put all our eggs behind the basket of the series that's led by a white male in Jude Law. And so optics wise, it just comes across as cringy to me. And it just really makes me question some of the decisions that Star Wars and Lucasfilm and Disney might be making kind of going forward is all.
Yeah, honestly, that is a really good point. It is so funny how it's like Disney will do something like this, and yet you'll still have people bitching about the fact that they're too woke.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's
It's
like,
kind of
hey, we
crazy.
just canceled this show which had a, you know, black woman as the lead, and now we're replacing it with a show with a white man as the lead, and then you'll still have you know, the YouTubers going, "Oh, Disney's still too woke."
Yeah, I think this. I don't want to say confirms, but I think it just adds to the idea that there's really no agenda behind the scenes, man. It's just
Oh
I,
no, it's
you
money.
know,
That's the
it's
agenda.
money. That's them. Yeah,
Money.
yeah, it's money at the end of the day. And there's also another report coming out, Stuart. Um, this I think this might have come out from the online scooper Daniel Rickman, if I'm not mistaken, but a couple other people are picking this up. Star Wars, The New Jedi Order, The Rey Skywalker, now on hold at Lucasfilm. It says this was from the worldofreal.com. Back in June, there were some rumors spreading that the Lucasfilm Rey's movie, potentially titled New Jedi Order, was going to be shooting in September, which is what we kind of been under the impression of. The gentleman at the article says that he personally shot down those rumors, saying that there was no chance. This is what he personally wrote. He says, if only I could tell you what I've been hearing when it comes to the behind the scenes drama with this project. I swore not to say anything, and it's killing me not to write about it, but I'm fairly certain some of it will eventually come out. And then this week, Daniel Rickman is now reporting. He says, the film has a lot more quote unquote work to be done and is now on hold at Lucasfilm. The earliest it would shoot is in 2025. In fact, says personally he thinks the entire project will be scrapped. He says, what I can't say is that Stephen Knight has been trying to crack the script now for well over a year. A final draft still hasn't been submitted to Lucasfilm. Knight, who is about to shoot his Peaky Blinders movie, has written a total of 4 drafts, with Lucasfilm Kathleen Kennedy's continuously giving him notes on how to improve the story. So, he says these issues with Knight come only 2 years after the development of the film started, and various drafts have been circulated with different writers, including Damon Lindelof. What's interesting about this concept store, Stuart, if this does turn out to be true, even in recent interviews with Daisy Ridley, she too has been saying she's waiting for the final script. They've been saying they've been waiting for the final script for quite some time now, and the fact that they still haven't gotten it definitely does worry and concern me. They say that it's on hold, which to them they don't feel like they're going to start filming until 2025. But even the person that wrote this article is saying, I don't even know if that's going to happen. I wouldn't be surprised if the movie is scrapped. If you guys go back and you watch our episode of A Plus Here Report from like 3 weeks ago, when I talked about the cancellation of The Acolyte, this was my worry, Stuart. This was my worry. I said, if The Acolyte season 2 isn't going to get renewed and they're going to cancel it without giving this show an opportunity to grow and make changes and thrive, like the Rings of Power season 2 got the opportunity to certainly do, what does that say for the state of Lucasfilm going forward in the movies that they have? And this is where my frustration really starts to unfold here, where it's like 2 things. One, God, I love James Gunn in the sense of him not putting anything into production or making any big statements about anything until a script is completed.
Yes.
We may have titles for some of his projects, but Homeboy doesn't talk about anything or it doesn't even talk about a script or anything like that. Doesn't bring on a writer, doesn't bring on a director, doesn't start casting until he has a final script that everybody is happy with. And then he knows he's going to move his movies forward. I wish Lucasfilm would freaking do this for a change, because then it makes their announcement at Star Wars London Celebration look idiotic if this actually happens. Like, you literally had Charmin Obaid-Chinoy come out, you had James Mangold come out, and you had Dave Filoni come out and announce these movies. And what I said after the cancellation of season 2 of The Acolyte was, now I'm worried about at least worried about 2 films. The James Mangold movie, because heaven forbid Lucasfilm wants to take a movie 10,000 years into the past, tries to teach us about the foundings and the learnings of the Force, how the Force came to be, who the first original Jedi was. There are going to be so many people that are going to feel some type of way about Disney putting this lore together, and this isn't true to what George Lucas had intended, sort of blah, blah, blah. Why would they even want to go down that route? Now they have a movie, a television series in The Acolyte that had a female-led diversity that didn't do well, or at least got like just bashed horribly, review bombed horribly, with people not wanting to do it. why would they then want to make a Rey Skywalker movie that's being led by an activist in Charmaine Obaid-Chinoy in some of the interviews and the things that people have kind of misconstrued and taken out of context? Like, why would they then want to make that movie at the end of the day? Like, why wouldn't that then make them hesitant to pull the trigger on that? And so they can say this movie is on hold, Stuart, but I'm starting to get vibes that they're getting cold feet. Like, I hope and I'm wrong, but I'm getting vibes that they may be getting cold feet with this Rey Skywalker movie, man. But if this rumor turns out to be true, though, how do you feel about it?
Dude, I've given up all hope when it comes to Star Wars movies at this point. Because like how many times on the show have we talked about an announced Star Wars movie only to then find out that it's on hold and then to find out that it's later being scrapped? Because we had it with Patty Jenkins, we had it with Taika Waititi, and now we have it with these with the Rey Skywalker movie, and now possibly the Jedi Origin movie, which Rey Skywalker, not gonna lie, I could kind of live without, because that whole they even said it themselves. The Skywalker saga is done, and it's not that I don't want it to come out. If it comes out, I'll definitely watch it. It's just not the one that I would be the most hyped for. But the Jedi Origin movie, like, that was something I really wanted to see, and it just sucks because like it feels like Disney, or just I really don't want to like say Kathleen Kennedy, because I don't want to make it seem like this is all one person's decision. I'm sure it's a whole board of executives that are making this decision, but it just feels like every time they have a movie going, it's like they listen to like those those comments of just like people saying, oh, this goes against George Lucas's vision, and then they think of the worst case scenario of what if this movie flops, and so they get cold feet and decide not to release it. Just commit to a movie. So, stop announcing so many different movies. Stop announcing like 20 different Star Wars movies. Just commit to a movie. Like you said, do the James Gunn route. Don't cast until you have a completed script. Give us a good Star Wars movie. I don't care what timeline it's in. I don't care, which characters we're going to see in it. Just give us a Star Wars movie and then go from there, see what people liked about it, what people didn't like about it, what you can improve on. But like, stop giving us so many announcements and then getting cold feet, Disney, please. This is just, it's driving me crazy, man.
Yeah, it is kind of driving me crazy. And it says, with Lucasfilm's Kathleen Kennedy continuously giving him notes on how to improve the story. Stop giving this man notes.
Yeah.
Stop giving this man notes on how to improve the story. He is a professional writer, Kathleen. He's a professional writer. Leave him alone. Let him do his thing.
We've seen what happens when you give too many notes. You get the Rise of Skywalker,
God.
So,
yeah, sometimes you just got to get yourself out of the way, man. So I don't know. There's some Star Wars drama going on, y'all, but let us know your thoughts in regards to this. How do you feel about Star Wars Skeleton Crew? I am excited for that, to certainly say the least. They have made an announcement that they may only go down to like one Star Wars series a year after this. At this point, I don't really care, man. Just give me a great, solid, quality content that's not going to be reactionary to people's thoughts and opinions outside of the movie industry. So we'll see what happens here. Marcelino says the Jedi Origin movie I can live without, but Rey was my second anticipated Star Wars movie. Yeah, I was kind of looking forward to it, man. Definitely kind of looking forward to it. But yeah, guys, let us know your thoughts in the comment section box below, and we'll see how some of these Star Wars reports at the end of the day will absolutely turn out. So we'll let you guys know.
Definitely. I gotta say though, so if this movie happens, the Lando movie with Donald Glover, like, I am looking forward to it, but I do find his interview, like, I can't remember if we talked about it on the show or not, but I did find his interview really bizarre, because he like mentioned,
yeah, we talked about it last week about bringing fun back.
Yeah. I still found that. Yeah, I still just like thinking about that interview, find it really weird, because I'm like, did you not watch the movie that you were in, which was also like kind of more meant to be like the more fun side of Star Wars? Like, like, yeah, the Skywalker saga is serious because it's meant to be, but like, have you seen The Mandalorian? Have you, and not to mention this upcoming Skeleton Crew, I'm assuming because we're following a group of kids, it's meant to be a fun adventure. So yeah, I don't know. Just thought that was a fascinating interview. I still look forward to the movie. Don't get me wrong, but it's like weird because I'm like, did you see Solo?
I mean, I do wonder if he just means like just the the discourse around Star Wars in general is what I wonder. You
Oh
know what I mean?
yeah.
That things have just gotten so serious that it doesn't make being a Star Wars fan fun anymore. You know what I mean?
That I totally get.
Let's see here.
Oh, I'm sure there's going to be a third season.
Yeah, I hope so. I hope so. Let's go and dive into this other article here real quick, Stuart, because we have mentioned this before several times in the past, but nothing has ever actually come to fruition for it. But I don't remember if you recall that there was plans to do a Zorro reboot. That they have plans on bringing the Zorro characters certainly back to life in some capacity. But it's been kind of turned down several times. But according to Deadline.com, they're making another swing at it here. Zorro reimagination from Robert and Rebecca Rodriguez rides on. CBS developing a new iteration co-written by John Lavin. It says a gender swapping reimagination of the classic masked vigilante Zorro is in the works at CBS from CBS Studios. Sources tell Deadline. Zorro hails from filmmaker Robert Rodriguez, his writer-director's sister Rebecca Rodriguez, and others. John Lavin from The Man Who Fell to Earth has joined the project following Sean Tetra, who wrote the second iteration of Zorro. The duo will pen a new original script for CBS. In this contemporary take, a young Latina woman discovers that her long deceased father was the legendary hero Zorro. She takes on his masked persona to defend the desperate citizens of her Austin, Texas community from the wealthy forces seeking to exploit them.
I forgot. Are you from Austin or
I'm
Dallas?
in Dallas, but Austin's like 2-3 hours away.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, it's kind of a close to home project. It says this is the project's third incarnation following earlier deals at NBC and the CW. CBS Studios has been a part of the Zorro journey since its inception through Propagate's deal with the studio at the time. So yeah, it says the Zorro IP continues to be a hot commodity with multiple TV and film projects in various stages of development. So yeah, this has been one that they've tried to shop around for quite some time and it hasn't been picked up, but it seems as though CBS plans on now developing it with an additional sort of new writer on board as well. And I don't know why, Stuart, but this just feels like a CBS production. I don't even know why, but the concept of Zorro just feels like it would fit in like that CBS kind of primetime slot weekly. I don't know why, but is this something that you're even interested in at all?
Man, I haven't seen Zorro in a long time. The Antonio Banderas Zorro movie. So
Oh yeah.
I gotta rewatch it at some point because I do remember enjoying it as a kid. But yeah, this is something I would definitely check out, especially because I love me Robert Rodriguez. The man can I would say the man can do no wrong, but he can. But even when he does wrong, I still sometimes find it entertaining, even his really bad movies. I mean, have you guys seen Machete Kills Again?
Oh wow. I don't think I've seen there's a sequel to that. I didn't even know there was a
Or
sequel.
sorry, no, I'm thinking of the fake sequel. Sorry, there was Machete and then Machete Kills. Machete Kills is the one I meant to say. That one was just so much fun. And then yeah, there was the fake trailer at the end, which was Machete Kills Again in space,
In
which
space,
of course
yeah.
never came out. Which oh god, I would have killed to see it. But yeah, like I said, he's a dude that knows how to have fun, and Zorro is definitely one of those properties you want to have fun with while telling a very serious story. So I feel like if anyone can do this kind of project, he is the perfect man for it. And yeah, with it coming to CBS, you get to have your cake and eat it too, because you get to have the primetime airing for the show on CBS, which is still a pretty I assume a lot of people still watch CBS. So you get that. And then not to mention CBS is owned by Paramount. So very likely if you get the people that don't watch cable network, they'll be able to stream it probably, if not the next week, then by the time the season wraps up on Paramount Plus. At least that's what I'm hoping for, because I don't have cable network, and streaming services are how I watch my TV shows. So hopefully if the show comes out, it comes to Paramount Plus. Oh, you are muted.
Yeah, I think according to Blossom, she says the story sounds amazing so far. A daughter of the masked renegade, so freaking amazing. I'm glad that you're excited for a Blossom. I would be open to it too. I am interested. I think if anything, there's probably a market where a Zorro will really work. I think, especially in today's day and age. I've always looked at Zorro in the sense of like a Robin Hood sort of character, stealing from the rich and kind of giving back to the poor. Dealing with like corruption at its highest in order to kind of help those trying to survive succeed. And I think the idea of it taking place in Austin, Texas, is brilliant because politics in Texas are as corrupt as it gets. Just look, Ted Cruz, Ken Paxton, whatever the case may be. So I absolutely love the idea this is taking place, and especially because I just feel like the time period that we're in is perfect for this. I do feel like we're sort of like in a second gilded age where you've got just a lot of corruption happening, people hoarding money, the elites kind of taking all the money for themselves while we're kind of all living paycheck to paycheck sort of mentality. So I think for me, if there is anything that I'm fascinated in, it's probably going to be like how they adapt this to a more modern society and a more modern time. Like, is she literally going to be like riding on her horse in the middle of like modern day Austin, Texas, streets and stuff? Or, is she going to have like a Mustang to drive in instead of, what I'm saying? Like, I do wonder what how they would develop this for a more modern time. But off the top, I like when I think of it, I think this is perfect for CBS. Like, I don't necessarily know the idea if this would necessarily work for streaming so much, but like a weekly CBS show, I don't know why I get the vibes that something like this will certainly work. And a very old character that's been around for years, so some people might say, oh, Zorro's a little bit outdated, but based off of what Zorro fights for, I think probably no better time than to bring Zorro back for a more modern society, to be quite frank with you. So we'll see.
Yeah. I was going to say, with what he fights for, I feel like that'll never be dated.
Yeah, I guess I guess you're absolutely right in that regards. But let us know your guys' thoughts. CBS in development for a Zorro series, finally taking this project that Robert Rodriguez has been working on for quite some time and putting into development. What's your anticipation level of it going to be? Let us know your thoughts. Marcelino real quick says he doesn't believe it's a marketable IP like Robin Hood, King Arthur, or Van Helsing. So this idea of better bringing in something new and creative because a typical Zorro show is kind of boring. I don't. Well, I mean, to be fair, I do think that's kind of a fair argument. I do think some people will hear the word Zorro and immediately kind of connect it to something that's kind of boring and like, how would you do that? But I agree. I do think I would agree with you in the sense of you do have to bring something new and creative. But I think the time period for Zorro in modern day society is interesting enough, and so I do believe in Robert Rodriguez enough to find that creative switch or that itch that really makes it work for today's audiences. But we'll see. But yeah, let us know your guys' thoughts in the comment section box below. And this show's run a little bit long, Stuart, so I do apologize, but we do have one last topic that we're going to be getting into as we switch course and go back to a big franchise, and that is going to be our Transformers and G.I. Joe, man. It is a go. G.I. Joe is, in fact, a go for a crossover event with Transformers. In the past, we have also heard word that Chris Hemsworth was in talks to join the Transformers in G.I. Joe film itself, fresh off of his Extraction movies from Netflix. I thought this was a perfect amalgamation and a joining of powers here of bringing Chris Hemsworth into this franchise. But Chris Hemsworth, again, in talks to be part of Transformers G.I. Joe. But one of the executive producers this week kind of came out and talked a little bit about how exactly is this gonna work, guys? Is it gonna be? Is it gonna feel like a? Oh, go ahead.
Sorry. So Chris Hemsworth, I just remembered, played Optimus Prime in Transformers 1. So is he going to be voice acting or playing a character?
I think he's playing a character. I don't think he's a voice actor. I think he's playing an actual character in it. But let's go ahead and dive into this. This article comes to us from Collider.com, which will really, I think, maybe answer some of the questions of like, is this a G.I. Joe movie? Is this a Transformers movie? Like, what is this necessarily going to be? So it says, how do you find the right balance when dealing with the crossover event? they talked to the producer, Lorenzo Bonaventura, revealed to Collider that they worry about what will work and what won't as much as any fan does. During a QA, he answered some of the questions. He said the producer stated that the more characters you try to manage, the harder it is to make a bunch of really good ones, but broke down how their approach to the upcoming crossover will be. He says it is a process of finding the story and then adjusting the story. Then it's working and why then it's not working and why isn't it working and all the things that go through this process. But to me, the crossover terminology makes me nervous because to me, when somebody says that, it sounds like it's supposed to be 50-50 or something. That's just me. Maybe I'm wrong. I think if we try to do 50-50, it's going to feel imbalanced because you're not going to spend enough time and sort of forward momentum. You've got to explain 50% and 50%. So I'm not sure how to get around that, but there will be a lot of Joe activity, a lot of Transformers activity, and a lot of human activity. Maybe it'll be a third, and a third. I don't know. It won't be that naturally. It won't be that naturally find itself that way. So yeah, I think was that his final words? No, I think there's one. God damn it! This thing is getting to me again, Stuart. No, that might be. Is that the last words? I don't know. All right, we already read a third. Is that the end? Meanwhile, yeah, that's it. That's all. That's all there is to it. So what do you think about his thoughts here, Stuart? If we try and do 50-50, it's going to feel unbalanced. It's going to be Joe activity, Transformer activity, and a lot of activity. Maybe it'll be a third. I don't know. But he's talking about the idea of really trying to find some balance in this world. Do you want to go first? You want me to give my thoughts first?
I think that like just writing a good story and the balance should just kind of come naturally. I think if your goal is to just tell a good story, you shouldn't like making sure like the GI Joes and the Transformers get an equal amount of script time. That should be something that you probably maybe want to worry about in like the second or the third draft. But I don't know. To me, it feels like when you have those kind of characters, especially because you're talking about like soldiers, human sized soldiers compared to giant robots. I feel like working together, they're not going to be doing the same mission, maybe towards the end, towards the big climax. But I feel like the best part about writing a story like that is that you can write separate missions for both characters while still having them work together. A ground mission for the human soldiers, maybe a more like galactic mission for the Transformers, and then just having it like kind of culminate together towards the end. But yeah, no, I think that you shouldn't go out of your way to try to make sure it's 50-50 unless you're Who Framed Roger Rabbit, and you'll get sued by Warner Brothers if you don't.
Oh yeah, gotcha. Like some people are like vying for screen time sort of thing. Like, oh, my property's got to have more screen time than this property sort of mentality.
Exactly, because the rule with Who Framed Roger Rabbit was that Donald Duck and Daffy Duck and then Mickey Mouse and Bugs Bunny had to have like to the .0 dot exact amount of screen time together.
Wow.
If one of them had more than the other, specifically if Disney had more than Warner Brothers, then Warner Brothers were gonna sue them for using their property. But they agreed to let them use their property if they were treated respectfully in their eyes.
There's a part of me, Stuart, that when I think of this, I almost want them to just jump into this movie where they're already teaming up. Where it's all the groundwork has kind of already been laid off screen, sort of thing. Like if you watched Rise of the Beast, I mean, you get the invitation at the end, post credit scene of like seeing the business card and stuff. To me, I wouldn't be upset with the idea of there have been a time jump off screen, and when we are thrusted into the movie, we already have them kind of working together with each other, and then maybe explain some of the backstory behind that. I mean, I think there are different ways that you can easily go about doing this. I think the idea of 50-50 maybe a third is funny, but I don't necessarily think it would work. Like, maybe not have the first act be all GI Joe, and then, oh, we need some help, and then the Transformers come in, and then you got to explain the Transformer storyline, how that fits, and then the third act is all three of them kind of working together or focusing on the human elements of things. To me, it would just feel more seamless if they're already working together to kind of get those questions sort of out of the way of having to present that kind of on the screen, and then you can really work on just balancing how the GI Joes and the Transformers kind of work together sort of in a mission. I kind of want to see GI Joes inside of the Transformers, kind of like either driving them, or when they transform into the big robots, they have like their own cockpit inside. I wouldn't mind seeing something like that. I wouldn't mind even seeing elements of what we saw in Rise of the Beast, where Anthony Ramos's character, I think his name was Noah, if I'm not mistaken, where he the Transformer suit literally like connects to him, and he looks like all like this huge Power Ranger power up sort of thing. I think that would be pretty cool to kind of see too. I think for me, what will make or break this movie though is, one, I don't think you need to have a bunch of characters in here. I say you have like 3 or 4 GI Joe members, and then maybe one holdover from Rise of the Beast, which might be the Anthony Ramos character, um, or the 2 characters from Rise of the Beast, and maybe 2 or 3 GI Joe characters. Um, and then you will have to have somebody that knows how to work with an ensemble cast. If you don't have a writer or director on board that's used to dealing with a lot of people being involved in the movie, I think that's where your balance is really going to be thrown off at. So to me, I'm going to be watching who are they bringing on board to direct and write this film. Some of their past work, have they handled really big cast members before? And I think if you can get over that hurdle, I think the balancing of characters in the storyline will certainly follow from then on. But I think there are several ways that they can certainly go about treating this. Maybe there's a brief prologue of Anthony being introduced to the GI Joe members and talking about, hey, we really want to work with you. Boom, let's get that title sequence on board, and then 2 years later, boom, we're right immediately in their collaboration, working side by side with each other, sort of mentality. But I don't know, how do you have a way of how you would kind of approach that, Stuart, at all?
Personally, I would have Noah like already as like a GI Joe, and then they just happen to have a mission that's just like too big for them, and that's when Noah's like, "Hey, I got some friends that can help." That's probably how I would do it.
Oh, so have him become a team member of the GI Joe force, and then bring in other people. Bring
Yeah,
in the
have
Transformers?
it already established that he's a GI Joe. And then like kind of like just during a mission that they're unable to complete, that's when you bring in the Transformers.
See, the question I would have is, are they even interested in Noah being a GI Joe member, or are they only asking him to join because of his friends? You know what I'm saying?
Hmm. I don't know. Cause on the one hand, I would want to say just because it'd be kind of an easier way for him to bring in the GI Joes. I think it'd be cool if it was his idea, or if for him to bring in the Transformers, if it was his ideas.
His idea.
But I also got to admit, whenever you have a storyline like that, whenever you have a storyline of, am I actually like, did they actually want me for my skills, or just because of the people I knew? I feel like that tends to lead to more interesting character conflicts and just self doubt, which
Hmm.
ends up leading to really good, it's a great it's a great obstacle for a character to overcome. The self doubt. So honestly, I could see it going either way. If I was doing it personally, I probably wouldn't do it that way, because I feel like we've already had a movie with him. I think he's already gotten past the self doubt
That's really, yeah.
personally. But yeah, I think it'll be interesting if they do it either way, though.
Yeah, so we'll see what this movie turns out to be, but I would agree with him in the sense that you can't really make a movie that's 50-50 or a third, a third, a third. You're really going to have to find a way to balance this out. But I do think it's really going to come down to, is your writer capable of really telling balanced stories with a big ensemble cast? And if you got the right writer and the right director, I think everything else will certainly fall into place. Can we get Ryan Johnson on this movie? He does a great job with with the big cast members.
Yes.
But yeah, guys, let us know your thoughts in the comment section box below. How would you guys do a Transformers G.I. Joe movie? Let us know your thoughts. Sam says Megatron will join Cobra Kai and Destro, team up with Starscream and fight Optimus Prime and Duke. Yeah, that's probably who Chris Hemsworth will be playing for sure.
Yeah, just give me a bunch of Transformers and GI Joe action figures. Leave me in like a room for like 10 minutes, and I'll come up with the story.
Yeah, right. Marcelino says, I wish we got the crossover after 3 more Transformer films and 3 more G.I. Joe movies. Yeah, Marcelino, we may never get a crossover event then, man.
Mm.
Like if we got to wait for all those movies, it may never happen in Hollywood at this pace. I would agree with you though in the sense of, I think for me, well, I don't necessarily know if I needed 3 more of each. I would have been okay with at least 1 more Transformers movie and 1 more actually good GI Joe film.
Yeah.
And if that and then maybe the crossover, a crossover type of movie. So I definitely understand the premise of what Marcelino was saying of, maybe we should have had more GI Joe and more Transformer movies.
Yeah, I would agree. Man, if I had to guess why they didn't do that, it's because like the last several GI Joe movies they've done, specifically, with Snake Eyes, and then they had. Did they ever do that show on Amazon with what's her face, the
Oh
villain that
no.
works for
Was it
Cobra Commander?
No, it wasn't Scarlet, was it? I thought it was a Scarlet series. Wasn't it a Scarlet series?
No,
I
it
don't
was I think it was the villain, right?
I personally thought it was Scarlet, but I could be
Might
wrong.
be. But yeah, regardless, it just I feel like they just didn't see too much financial gain from just GI Joe as a standalone movie. And I think they saw it as too much of a financial risk, especially with how bad Snake Eyes did. But I blame the marketing for Snake Eyes, because we didn't get a trailer for that movie until the week it came out. So that movie's
Yeah.
failure is in the marketing and the fact that it was released like still during the pandemic. But that all being said, yeah, I get why financially Paramount was like, let's not risk it. Let's just go straight to the crossover before we even establish a GI Joe team.
Yeah, I would agree with you in the sense that I do think it was probably a financial risk. They probably thought to themselves, yeah, we're not making another GI Joe film. It's just a little bit too risky, putting all that money. Like if we're gonna put all that money towards something, let's just do the crossover. I personally would have liked to have had 1 more solo Transformers film, Bumblebee, Rise of the Beast, and then 1 more, and then give us a crossover event. But I do think they probably think to themselves, how many more opportunities will we get to make this happen? We got to pull the trigger now, and we'll see if that bites them in the ass or not. Sam does correct us though. It was a rumored Lady Jane Amazon
Oh,
Prime
okay.
series, so that's
It
what they
was
were.
rumored. Got it.
So I am kind of curious if that's something that'll ever happen again. But yeah, guys, let us know your thoughts in the comment section box below. How would you guys pull off a GI Joe Transformer film? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section box below. And with that out of the way, Stuart, that will wrap up all of our main topics today. We are a little bit late in starting our next segment, but are you ready to get into these live viewer questions with me, man?
I am indeed.
Let's do it.
And now, everybody, it is time for live viewer questions.
And as we get into live viewer questions, y'all, this will be our last segment of the day. If you've ever wanted to submit a live viewer question over, how do you go about doing that? Well, let me show you right now. Just simply go over to our YouTube channel. As you see here, every Saturday afternoon or evening, we will post a live viewer question post for you guys. Click on that community tab. And voila, you will see a live viewer question post. Feel free to submit your questions over and we'll answer them at the end of each and every show. Let's try and get through some of these as quickly as we can so we're not pushing way too over today's time. Let's see here. Now, I might put on some music for you guys also. Where is my music? Rise of October was okay. Retaliation is brilliant. Do you like any of the originals?
Sorry, what was that?
Sam says Rise of Cobra was okay. Retaliation was brilliant. Did you like any of the other the G.I. Joe movies?
You know, I never saw the second one, but I did think the first one was pretty fun.
I always liked the second one better. I thought the second one did a pretty decent job.
Because they brought in like Dwayne Johnson and Bruce Willis for that one, right?
Oh yeah, they did. They did. Maybe that's why it worked out so well for me. If the music is too loud, y'all, let me know. I might actually lower just a notch.
Because I think if I remember correctly, and definitely someone in the comments correct me if I'm wrong, Channing Tatum at the time, so he did the first movie, and then when he did the second one, he suddenly decided he was a pacifist and didn't want to do any more action movies, which clearly he changed his mind about years later. But I guess that was the reason they killed off his character in the second movie.
Yeah, I was about to say, wasn't he in the second one? That's right, they did kill him off in them. Blossom, hey guys, did you see the documentary on Stan Lee yet? It was turbo hardcore. The guy worked so hard for heroes we knew today. Ain't that great? I still have not seen the documentary. Have you, Stuart?
I have not, but I really should check that out. That'll definitely be on my list.
I do want to check it out because Stan Lee is just such a unique figure, man. Just how much this man was loved and praised, and I always just loved his positive attitude. It definitely is something that's missed in today's society after his passing, and all the great things that he certainly laid the groundwork for. And if you've ever had the opportunity to see Stan Lee at a convention or hear him talk at a convention on some of the, YouTube clips and stuff, I highly recommend you just listen to this man's enthusiasm about the things that he absolutely loved. But I do want to check that out. I want to check that out, and the Christopher Reeve documentary also.
Mm-hmm. I still think the best quote from Stan Lee is, "If someone said F you to me, I would say thank you for wishing such a wonderful thing to happen to me. And it's about time you all start thinking that too."
Golly. She also says, remember when we found out that Rita became Mystic Mother? I'll have a Mystic Mother return in our story. My Tokyo just find her due to the Nightmare Empire placing an ancient curse on their mentor. How's that? Okay.
Loved it. That was one of the most out of nowhere one of the most left turn twists ever. I loved it.
Yeah, absolutely. Doomsday, how would you rank all of the 9 main Star Wars movies from worst to best? We actually already did that. Let me see if I can find the image. Here at A+ Hero Report, earlier this year, we did a consensus ranking of Star Wars movies from our best to least favorite. Let me go ahead and pull that up here for you guys so you guys can check it out for yourselves. It was myself, Stuart. I think we had 7 people. Couple team members from our social media, I think Kevin took part in it. I think Indy might have taken part in it. We had Will Polk from Scene and Nerd. We had Crystal Kyber along with ourselves as well. But this is our rankings for Star Wars, since you asked. Doomsday, how would you rank all 9 of the main Star Wars movies from worst to best? We go Empire Strikes Back as number 1, Return of the Jedi number 2, Revenge of the Sith is number 3, A New Hope number 4, Rogue One number 5, a lot of us consensus being one of the better films out of Disney, number 6, The Force Awakens, followed by 7, The Phantom Menace, 8, Attack of the Clones, 9, The Last Jedi, 10, Solo, and 11, The Rise of Skywalker. I personally had The Last Jedi, I think at 7 or 6 or something like that. I can't remember. It might have been a little bit higher, but Last Jedi was kind of low on a lot of people's list, so that's why it brings it all the way down to number 9. But overall, when I look at it, Stuart, I feel like this is a pretty I think the fact that we had so many people come together to put this together, I thought this was a really well balanced list, if you ask me.
Mm-hmm.
But to each their own.
Yeah, I think it's similar to how I would rank it. few differences. I'd probably put Last Jedi a little bit higher, and which one? I might put the Return of the Jedi just a little bit lower. At the very least, I would definitely put New Hope above Return of the Jedi.
I was happy to see Revenge of the Sith make it into the top 3. Honestly, I think that's like a generationally a great movie that a lot of people walked out of the prequels saying, "Damn!" Like,
Yeah,
that was really, really good.
that movie went hardcore at the end.
Yeah, it really did.
Execute Order 66.
Some people still think Phantom Menace and Attack of the Clones is still the worst. Phantom Menace for me definitely could be a lot lower on this list, to be quite frank with you. But yeah, it's it's to each their own. This is why we had a consensus, and I wanted a lot of people on our team to put their rankings together. So out of 7 members, this was our ranking. So I thought overall, pretty good stuff. I haven't really heard too many complaints about our list, so I appreciate it. In terms of acting, Doomsday says, how would you rank all 6 Samurai Rangers? Oh, God. From best to worst in terms of acting. Okay, let me, Samurai Rangers cast.
Yeah, I actually gotta, even though the names are in the theme song, I gotta double check the names of the characters.
All right. Worst, god damn. Jesus, this is bad. So we got Alex, who played what was his character name? We got Kevin, Erica's the pink, Hector is the green, Brittany as Emily, Steven Skylar as Antonio. First off, I think the best actor was the mentor G, Renee. Okay, to be honest. After that, best to worst, Jesus. I
think I can go first if you need to think about it.
Yeah, go for it.
Okay, undoubtedly. Oh shoot, the names aren't listed on here. That's really annoying. Only the actors' names, so I'll just go with the actors' names then. So first, I just want to say this is not me trying to crap on any of the actors in this show. I get it. They had not the best script and probably really rushed scheduling, especially because like this show did not have a long production period at all. So please note, this is not me trying to, shit on these actors. I totally get it. But here's how I would rank it. I would probably put Naji D. I'm probably butchering his name, so I'm so sorry. Naji D.
That's Kevin.
Yeah. The Blue Ranger. He would probably be the lowest on the list, if I'm being honest. And then Erica would probably be, just above him. And then who was the yellow? Oh, and then Brittany and Peardle as Emily. Yes, she would be above her. I would probably put Alexander Hartman above her, and then Hector David Jr. above. Oh God, oh man, that
Mike.
I just remembered the whole thing with him recently. And then my favorite, actually, I actually thought he did a really solid job, and he was actually kind of the only character in the show with personality. I would definitely put Steve Skylar as Antonio as my number 1, not only best actor but favorite character in the show.
Yeah, I think I was leaning towards Steven as Antonio as my number 1 there. After that, I might go Alex. Then I'll go Hector. Then I'll go Brittany as Emily. Then Erica as Mia. And then Najee as Kevin.
Okay.
That'll be my best to least. I've also been a little bit curious about this for a while. What do you personally call Super Sentai when you're talking to someone who never heard the franchise before? Japanese Power Rangers.
Yeah.
That's what I refer to them as.
I think I just say Sentai and then I explain. which is basically where Power Rangers gets its footage from. Yeah, I'll say something like that. But I always assume people do not know what Sentai means.
Yeah, so I usually will say like, so like I watched a show called Super Sentai, which in reality is just think of like Japanese Power Rangers. Like it's really where Power Rangers gets their footage from. So I usually break it down by referring to it as like Japanese Power Rangers.
Yeah.
Jessica Fryman, do you think it's time for Yu-Gi-Oh franchise to have a female lead like Pokemon? And with Disney making so many sequels to their popular animated movies, which underrated animated movie would you like to see get a sequel? I want Robin Hood. Can I get a Robin Hood animated movie? To somehow get a sequel or adapt that one if you want.
That'd be cool to see. Man, I guess for me, maybe the Black Cauldron. That movie was pretty awesome and didn't get a lot of love, unfortunately, when it came to theaters. And as for the Yu-Gi-Oh question, okay, so I haven't watched anything past GX, so I've only seen Yu-Gi-Oh, and then even then I never actually finished Yu-Gi-Oh, but I did watch GX all the way through, not including the last season because that was never given an English dub. And yeah, I've always noticed that with the Yu-Gi-Oh franchise, they've never written the best female characters in the show. But that being said, though, if you want fun female characters in a Yu-Gi-Oh show, just watch the fan series Celebrity Yu-Gi-Oh Championship, because you have Hillary Clinton as one of the characters in the show. It's the AI Yu-Gi-Oh tournament series that I freaking love way too much. It is like way better than it has any right to be. But I guess you could watch that show. You get a cool duel between Hillary Clinton versus Daenerys Targaryen.
Yeah. I'm personally not I've never really watched Yu-Gi-Oh like that, so I'll leave that up to you to answer that question. Marcelino, what's up, Marcelino? Always good to have your questions, man. Ridley Scott at one point pitched an idea for an Eternals TV show. Well, actually, I don't. To be fair, I don't think it was Ridley Scott. But I don't believe it was Ridley Scott. I believe his name was John Ridley, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay.
Look that up though. Look that up if you wouldn't mind, just to confirm that. But I believe I think it's a John Ridley. While scripts were never written, he has described his version as both weird and the good version. The only thing known on what he would have done was that the opening would have depicted a teenager putting a drill through his ear and another duct taping themselves while taking a bath. While my parents learned of this, who were fans of the Eternals movie, they were both disgusted and horrified. They called him a man-child for putting down the film that came out, while unfairly claiming his was the superior, even though no scripts were ever made. They also think that his idea makes it sound like he has a fetish for child manipulating themselves. Because that's question one, or comment number one. I tried to do a Google search yesterday. I couldn't find a Ridley Scott doing an Eternals TV show, but I did find a John Ridley.
Yeah. I mean, I know nothing about how it would have turned out if he made this show. But
here I found an article. I found an article about it. Let me pull this up real quick. Hold on.
Yeah, that's really interesting. That's just weird. But that being said, if that was his response, that my version would have been the good version, then I'll agree that that's kind of unprofessional and it comes off as super narcissistic in that sense.
John really says scrap Marvel TV series was about the Eternals. A good version is what he says. This is John Ridley right here. Oscar winner said during a recent appearance at Comic Book Clubhouse podcast that while the TV series he was developing at ABC in 2015 is not in the works anymore, it was the television version of the Eternals, but good. My version, or the good version, was so effing weird, he says. There was my version, a good version, which is good to me, which doesn't mean anything. There was the version that Marvel ended up doing, which I don't think that version was particularly good, I'll be honest. He says a few years later, Marvel Studios produced yada yada yada. Okay, Ridley, who won an Academy Award for Best Adapted Screenplay for 12 Years a Slave, proceeded to detail the pilot episode of his series, saying, "My version started with the first thing you see is a young man, probably 17 to 18 years old, and he's sitting there. He's sitting there for a moment, and then he lifts his hands. He has a drill in it, and he turns the drill on, and he puts the drill to his ear, and he starts pushing it in, and then it goes from there. That's how it starts. And then I think we see another kid. He sleeps in the bathtub, covers himself up with foil. It's just really weird story about these people who are, I mean, it's just weird." But the writer admitted his version was a really hard property to develop. He later realized that the best thing that happened for everyone is that it didn't happen with me, because I don't know if that would have been entertaining for all. He also added, "I do mean what's entertaining for me is often not populist, which is great for a lot of work that I do. But this needed to be a little bit more popular. It really did." So if that clarifies any comments for you, Stuart.
Yeah, very much like he definitely did not sell me on that pitch. Let me just put it that way.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, not the best pitch in the world, but I will say a little bit man childish to put another movie down and boast yours when at the end of the day yours wasn't even done. You know, like I appreciate his confidence that he has in himself, in the idea of feeling that his work would have been better. But yeah, a little bit of a man child in the idea of putting that the film down, even though his really had no scripts. He says his parents also think that his idea makes him sound like he has a fetish for children manipulating themselves. I don't necessarily know if I would say that, but it does kind of creep me out in the sense of trying to figure out where he was going with it. I wonder if it's a case of like the idea of mutants being sort of repulsed, and how you when your mutant abilities activate, how the world sort of fears you. So to kind of look at that from a perspective of maybe the internals, or maybe like something happening in this world where children are killing themselves, or maybe there's abilities activating. I really have no idea, but so I don't know the route that really was certainly going to go. But I think there are other ways of looking at that without assuming he likes children manipulating themselves. You know, like I feel like we've seen 17, 18-year-olds kind of struggle with something, whether it be high school, suicide, like pressures of life in general, doing things to them to themselves also in stories. So creepy, horrifying to a certain extent, but we don't necessarily know where the full script was going. So I wouldn't read too much into it.
Yeah. If anything, it kind of just reminds me of one of the few good scenes in X-Men Last Stand, which was like the scene where you have the dad like knocking on the door. The kid's like, "Wait a minute, Dad!" Like, and he can like subtly hear him crying, and then he like kind of breaks the door open, and he just sees this kid, with scissors and like blood coming from his back, like, and implying that he like literally cut his own wings off to hide the fact that he was a mutant. Oh, I think you're muted.
Yes, that's exactly it. I think that's a great representation of what this sequence kind of might have been, something along those lines of, because that was horrifying to me. Like that was a really tragic and just sad tale to see, like this kid grew beautiful wings, but the way that he views it is like he didn't want to be a mutant. He didn't want to disappoint his family, and the fear that comes with it. So yeah, I think it's a little bit of a leap to see he's got a fetish for children manipulating themselves. I just think it's just a really powerful sort of depiction of an opening scene to really clearly draw you in. But I'm sure there's clearly more to it that we unfortunately won't get the opportunity to see.
Yeah. I mean, I would hope that George Lucas doesn't have a fetish for blowing up planets, but you never know.
Have you seen Zack Snyder's movie Guardians, Owls of Ga'Hoole? It's Zack Snyder's least discussed film and was adapted from a children's book series. Honestly, I'm kind of surprised that he adapted it, because it doesn't feel like something Zack Snyder would make. I bet you that movie's probably good because it's something he adapted. That's what we talked about last week, the week before, right? Like when he adapts things, people seem to praise him for it, but when he gets on his own soapbox and creates his own stuff, that's where things start getting crazy. I hadn't seen it before, but I've heard of it. Stuart, have you watched it?
I haven't, but I do remember the trailer looking really good. The animation looked absolutely stellar, and it almost basically was like 300, but with owls.
Can you Rotten Tomatoes that for us in the
Oh,
meantime and
sure,
just see?
yeah.
I'm kind of curious to see how people receive that. While you're looking that up, I will move to the next question. Um, he says, you guys said that you wouldn't want a female James Bond to be gender bent version named Jamila Bond, but would rather have the 007 mantle be passed down to a woman. But you have also praised Melissa Benoit's Supergirl, even though the way the show is written is basically a gender bent version of Superman. Some people would say that's hypocritical because they're both the same kind of argument. Making Supergirl essentially a female Superman was a deal breaker for a lot of comic book fans because Supergirl is her own character in the comics and utilizes her to her full potential. Many found to be insulting for her character. Some would say if criticize one, you need to criticize the other, or if you praise one, you need to praise the other, but you can't have it both ways. What would you say to that?
I would disagree. I mean, here's my thing is that yeah, while I've said many times that I feel like the way Supergirl is written in the CW Supergirl show, she feels less like Supergirl, more like a gender bent Superman. That there were other aspects of the show that worked really well that made me kind of look past that, made me forgive that aspect. And even though both of us said that we don't necessarily want a gender bent James Bond movie, it's not like we were saying that we wouldn't watch it or that we would automatically hate it. It's just something that we wouldn't have wanted. If you would ask me before the Supergirl show came out, whether I would have liked a Supergirl show that's more based on the comic books or a Supergirl show that's more of just a gender bent Superman, I would have said no. Give me something more based towards the comic books. Doesn't mean that like when the product actually comes out that I will automatically hate it. It just means that I'm less excited for it. And that's how I kind of feel with this. Is that if it was literally just a Jane Bond or Jamala Bond, in this particular case, I just wouldn't care as much as if it was just a 007 movie where it was just, her title was 007, but she had a completely different name. I think that would just be a better way to write the movie. But, the movie could change my mind is all I'm saying. So I don't think it's like hypocritical to say that we wouldn't want it to, to be a gender bent James Bond movie.
I guess for me, I mean, I still look at them as two completely separate things. Like when I think of Supergirl, I don't like she's not Claire Kent, she's not like Clara Kent. She's her own character. She's got her own origin story. She's got her own side characters. Does she share a lineage? Yeah, I mean they're cousins. But yeah, I mean that's really where it like the stuff ends for me. I don't see it as like I just don't view Supergirl as like a gender bent Superman to me personally. I just don't. I don't know if I'm even answering the question, to be honest with you, Stuart.
It's just I think it's more directed towards me because I'm the one who's made that comparison with Miss Melissa Benoist. I don't think you've ever made that comparison. I think it's just been me that's been saying that before.
Yeah, I've never felt that way.
Yeah, because to me, it's not that I'm saying she's completely one for one like Clark Kent, but I am saying that like her personality and just kind of character traits and the way she's kind of written in the show, it definitely has a lot more resemblance to me
I can see that.
to Clark Kent than it does to her Supergirl counterpart in the comic books.
I think for me I think the idea of her being a reporter too is a little bit too on the nose.
Yeah, that too. That was like the big thing. Because I don't remember what she does as an adult, but I know that like the Supergirl comic books I read, most of them take place with her actually being in high school. Hence why she is called Supergirl and not Superwoman, because she actually is a girl. Where that joke that they try to make fun of in the show itself. It's like, no, they didn't call you Supergirl because they're sexist. They called you Supergirl because you were actually a girl in the comic books,
Yeah.
Yeah, so there was also another comment. Let me ask you this, Stuart. What would you say to the people who want a female James Bond who is named Jane or Jamala Bond? I would say if that's what they want, awesome. If that's what they get, double awesome. It may not be what I want, but I'm not gonna complain if we get it, you know?
Yeah, if we get it, that's there's nothing we can do about it.
Yeah.
If they want it, that's cool. Props to them. Peg C, what do you think of the two different storylines from when the Power Rangers presented their ninja powers in the original 1995 movie? The way that they presented the ninja powers by Dulcia, but in the TV show they presented their ninja powers by Ninjor. I always appreciated the movie one a little bit more, and I just wasn't a fan of Ninjor in the show, to be quite honest with you. Just because of the fact that it's like, one, I didn't like his voice. His voice was just way too comedic for me. Just
love
yeah,
Ninjor's voice. It's so much fun to impersonate.
oh god, oh god.
It's
like,
just, that voice does not match the suit that you
It
see
doesn't.
him in.
It
I
doesn't.
love it.
It doesn't. So yeah, that's why I go with the movie version a little bit better. There was a part of me that was like, oh man, I hope that they carry this over from the movie into the television show, and they did, but then they gave it like a completely different origin story, or like completely switched it up, and I was just like, oh, this doesn't feel the same to me. But yeah.
Yeah, if you ask me, I definitely prefer the movie because not only, was it more epic, you got a couple cool things out of it. You got the hilarious line from Adam, I'm a frog, which that line makes me laugh every time. And apparently it was improvised. That wasn't in the script. Yeah. And then also you got some amazing eye candy with Lucia.
Yeah, Dulcia.
Delcia, yeah, that's right. Yeah, you got some great eye candy, and just again, I love those suits, man. In the 1995 movie, those suits looked great.
He also says, what do you think of Kimberly not having her own Shogun Zord, and that she had to pilot the white Shogun Zord with Tommy? I don't know if watching it, I don't want to say I don't think I cared. I definitely was maybe hoping that she would have had her own Zord, but looking back on it, weren't they? I mean, they were a couple during that time, so it almost kind of felt appropriate. But I think I guess it was also really dependent on just the Super Sentai footage that they had, and having to like incorporate live action to what they were creating, and clearly they had more ranges than they did Zords at the time, maybe. But I don't know, did the Super Sentai version, did they also have a pink and white sharing the same cockpit? I don't know.
I would assume so. I'm not gonna lie, I really didn't think much of it.
Yeah, I didn't really think much of it watching it growing it up. What do you think of the news of Batman becoming the first superhero to get his star on the Walk of Fame? I think personally Superman should have been the first. He echoes those sentiments with you, Stuart.
Yeah.
Superheroes in general would not exist if not for Superman. Yeah, what do you think? I'm cool with it either way, but I get the argument for sure.
Definitely agree. Yeah, I'm cool. I'm happy that Batman has a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. That's cool. But yeah, I do think that it personally, if in my opinion, should have been Superman first.
The most talented man alive, Spider-Man Beyond the Multiverse. Oh God, if that's the name of this new Spider-Man movie. With Destin Daniel Cretton recently announced to be directing the sequel to No Way Home, here's a potential storyline that will continue where the ending left off. Synopsis: after the events of No Way Home, Peter Parker has been restored to his own universe, but with a twist. He's now aware of the multiverse and his connections to other Spider-Men. As he navigates his new reality, he discovers that the multiverse is still reeling from the consequences of Doctor Strange's spell, and that it didn't entirely change things back to the way they were, only did what it was supposed to do, which was to remove his identity as Peter Parker and as Spider-Man entirely from everyone's mind around the globe. Here's a storyline. The film opens with Spider-Man adjusting to his new life, but he soon realizes that his actions have created a ripple effect, causing chaos in other universes. A new villain emerges, one who seeks to exploit the multiverse for their own gain. This villain could be a variant of classic Spider-Man foe like Morlun or Kraven. Peter must team up with other Spider-Men once again, this time including Miles Morales and Spider-Gwen, to stop the villain and restore balance to the multiverse. Along the way, they encounter new allies and enemies, including variants of other familiar characters from the MCU. As they journey through the multiverse, Peter and his friends uncover aspects about the fabric of reality and the true nature of the Spider-Verse. The film culminates in a climactic battle that takes Peter and his team across the multiverse universe, forcing them to confront their own identities and consequences of their actions. The end of this potential storyline offers a fresh direction while building upon the events of No Way Home. It allows for exciting action sequences, emotional character moments, and exploration of the vast multiverse. With Daniel Cretton at the helm, the film could balance action, humor, and heart, making it a thrilling addition to the Spider-Man franchise. I will say I do like the concept of his decisions and his actions from No Way Home having a bigger ripple effect than he realizes, kind of causing chaos in other universes. That's a pretty cool concept. The rest, though, for me personally, while I like the idea of like a Miles Morales and Spider-Gwen instead of maybe bringing back Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield, I think if you're going to have anybody work opposite of Peter Parker, those would be really two good concepts. But for me, I already deal with the multiverse in the animated Spider-Man films. And we've already done it with No Way Home. I still very much want a street level, but I like where your head is at. It's a cool concept yeah, in regards to that, though.
Yeah, definitely.
Sam, what's up, Sam? I think Michael Bay will be interesting to do Transformers crossover. Oh God. I think Michael Bay will be interesting to do Transformers crossover G.I. Joe film, and I will like to see the first time live action Serpentor from villain of G.I. Joe character with LT Falcon. Interesting. I don't know if I would definitely go the Michael Bay route, but I like where your head is at in regards to like Serpentor and LT Falcon. I heard about MCU getting Danny Ketch Ghost Rider TV series. It could be Ryan Gosling, who knows. So I didn't hear that that's exactly the route that they're going to go, but one of their executive producers, Brad Winderbaum, suggested that he would like a Ghost Rider television series, and if they did one, he personally would like it to be the Danny Ketch Ghost Rider. I'm not really familiar with the Danny Ketch Ghost Rider, to be quite frank with you, but that's just something that he's suggesting at the moment. If they did a Ghost Rider TV series, that's not confirmed though. What do you think about that though, Stuart? Would you like a Danny Ketch?
I don't know too much about him as a character, but I mean, I'm down for a Ghost Rider TV series in general. I don't care which Ghost Rider it is.
He says, do you like to see Lone Ranger as a reboot for a film or a TV show? A Lone Ranger.
Last time they did it for a film, it did not work out very well in Disney's favor. So I think that a TV show would probably be the safer route, or smarter route too.
Do you remember a TV show in the 80s called live action with animated called Kid Video?
Kid Video. That sounds familiar. Let me double check that.
KIDD Video. Man, maybe barely. Looking at images of it, maybe barely. Like in a vast, distant memory of mine that like blinked and I mentally caught an image of it once, but that's really about it.
I'm 90% sure. So like back in high school, I used to be obsessed with that guy with the glasses.com, which is of course now called Channel Awesome, which the website doesn't exist, but the YouTube channel still does. But you know, before it was just a nostalgia critic, there were a bunch of like different content creators on there that would review like retro things. And I couldn't tell you which one, because it has been so long, but I'm like 90% sure that's where I've seen this show from, was probably from one of those reviewers, because it looks extremely familiar, but I definitely never watched it as a kid.
And AJ, Power of the Morphing Grid. RPM has hands down one of the best seasons in Power Rangers. It was the only series that took place in a post-robot apocalyptic world. The show itself was very meta, where it was aware of everything in the PR universe. The show had its own version of the universal morphing grid. The series was known for being one of the darkest and serialized seasons, with little comedic humor by having Ziggy alongside Dr. K as the comedic characters. The formula of the show was very different from past traditional seasons. Because this is RPM, I have to mention the fantastic behind the scenes episode where the actor Ziggy showed us behind the scenes look at how the series was put together while everyone in the cast stayed in character. Yeah, that was pretty funny. Of course, we even get to the hilarious meta episode where all the Rangers ask Dr. K all the weird questions that happen in Power Rangers, like the explosions and the weird anime eyes of the Zords, which originated from the Super Sentai series Go Onger. 12 years later, the show itself eventually got itself a sequel in Beast Morphers by having the villain Evox be ultimately revealed as Venjix. Finally, the cameos of RPM veterans Dr. K and Colonel Truman helped close out the series finale. In conclusion, RPM was definitely one of the best seasons to come from the Disney era and the entire franchise by doing new things and bold things while still being familiar to longtime Power Ranger fans. Yeah, I definitely would agree with you there. Marcelino, he says, I seriously would like Jenna Ortega to talk to someone who has a different mindset than when it comes to female-led franchises. I think there's a lot of common ground that can be made. For those of you who missed it, Jenna Ortega did have an interview, I think with Hollywood Reporter or somebody, where she talked about the idea that she would like to see more female-led franchises, like original franchises built around a female lead instead of doing gender swapping. And look, there's a part of me that doesn't mind both ways of it. Like, I think for some characters it works, for some characters it doesn't. Like, I'm just not a fan of the, like, James Bond is the one I keep going back to. Like, I really would like to see it kind of done like it's the passing of a mantle and create like a brand new character for a franchise to certainly go around. But I do think that there's a world that we live in where there could be a really good balance. I think Marcelino's right in the sense that there's a lot of common ground that can be made. I think that the issue tends to come, and I think I heard Gal Gadot mention this before, in the idea of like she's kind of tired of the gender bending for female characters, because what happens is they tend to just make the character female, but they don't change anything else about the character. So you've got these female characters with all these like male traits or male emotional traits and aspects of their characters that feel very more male bent, even though it's now a female character. And she said that if they were to do something like a gender bent character, that they feel like some of the personality traits and the attributes of those characters should also kind of be changed as well, to be a little bit more understanding of just what it is that a woman goes through compared to what men kind of go through, if that makes a little sense. So I think there's a balance there that can certainly be found. So I agree with you, Marceline. I do think there is a lot more common ground that can certainly be made in there, but I just think it's not everything is created equal in that sense. I think it's like each situation is different, if that makes sense, is how I kind of view it, Stuart.
Yeah. You know what, it's just occurring to me now.
But I do want to see more female-led franchises. I completely agree with her.
Yeah, definitely. Like, I definitely, if I have to choose between
like
the two,
between the two,
give me more original,
yeah,
of course. But here's the thing. So I see a lot of people constantly complaining of, so many gender bent, female led characters, give us original characters. Like, genuine question, how often does that happen though? Because like, you had the 2016 Ghostbusters movie. People said Ocean's 11 was like that, but except for it wasn't, because from what I understand, it was still a sequel. It just happened to be that all the people doing the heist just happened to be women. But I don't think it was like, it was like Ghostbusters in that, like, it was just like a world where like those same characters are now women instead of men. So it's like, I really can't think of that many examples except for Ghostbusters. And yet people are acting like this is like a super common occurrence. Like, is that just me?
I don't know. I mean, yeah, I don't feel like it's taken over for us. Like I'm trying to think of Marvel comic book, like I'm trying to think of Marvel comic book movies where there's been a male character that's been replaced by female.
Okay, yeah, there are some comic book
I mean,
characters
comic book
actually. Now that I
characters.
think of that, yeah. But usually they're characters that also have like kind of a female counterpart within the comic books themselves, like they are doing currently with the Silver Surfer. It is a version of the character that does exist within the comic book world of like the Fantastic Four.
Well, yeah, but I also don't know how like popular those characters that are being gender swapped are either.
True.
You know, like I don't know if the people that are being gender swapped in Marvel comics or DC like DC movies and stuff, if their characters are super popular to those that even read the comic books. But you know, if you're a comic book person in general, I'm sure you probably hold these characters pretty close. But I don't think that they've taken super big liberties a lot of the time. But I don't know. I'll have to sit back and pull up a Google search of like gender swap Marvel movie characters. Or
I
if these
do-
are like supporting characters that nobody in reality would really care about.
I do know that in the DC multiverse, there is an Earth where literally everyone is gender swapped.
Oh, that's pretty interesting.
So, like, you know, it's Superwoman and Wonder Man.
Oh, wow. Okay. But that will do it for all of our live viewer questions here today, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you guys so much for participating in that for sure. Martin did get mad at us. He says, "Don't make fun of my parents or me, my concerns. You can't blame us for these feelings this way. We have reason. It's unreasonable to think this way." Well, you know, I do apologize. We definitely weren't trying to think of you whatsoever. So I do apologize if it came across that way. But overall, guys, great episode here this week. A little bit longer than I certainly wanted to, but I appreciate everybody's patience and certainly sticking around with us each and every week. We definitely will be back next weekend for you guys as well. So certainly stay tuned every Sunday, hopefully for 11 a.m. We'll see how it certainly turns out, but we'll definitely be here for you guys next Sunday. We also got a Penguin review set for you guys this week, Agatha episode number 2. And then hopefully after that, we should be on schedule with Agatha, the Rings of Power coming in the middle of the week, and then the Penguin episode 2 set to drop next Sunday for you guys. So that'll certainly separate some of the reviews from the others as well. But a lot of content coming your way. If you guys haven't hit that subscribe button yet, please certainly go ahead and do so. And Stuart, if people want to find you on social media, man, where can they find you?
You guys can find me at TurboStew01 over on Instagram and on Letterboxd.
And if you want to follow us on social media everywhere, right here at the bottom at A+ Opinions, very active, specifically not only on our YouTube page, which you should subscribe to, but also our Facebook page, which you should really follow on a daily basis. We drop brand new articles, behind the scenes videos, discussions, posters, trailers, whatever we can to certainly keep you up to date on a daily basis. And then we take those topics and discuss them here at the end of the weekend. We're also on TikTok at Hero Report if you want to follow us there. And we also have a Discord forum community. There is a link in the description box for that there if you want to join us over on Discord. But other than that, guys, that's going to do it for our episode here today. We'll certainly see you next week. In the meantime, do us a big favor, y'all. Take care of yourselves, take care of each other, and keep it A+. We'll talk to you guys later. Bye.